Chapter 1404. Seeing that the two of them were looking at the contract carefully, the staff added lightly, "Don't worry, this contract has already stated that different jobs will be arranged according to your level. If you don't have the corresponding strength or misreport your strength, causing the cooperation to fail and damaging the reputation of our Chamber of Commerce, then don't blame us for being impolite in the future." Cheng Menjing found it refreshing and asked curiously, "Do you have any punishment measures?" "Of course." The staff said proudly, "If there is a breach of contract, our Immortal Chamber of Commerce will blacklist you directly. From now on, you are not allowed to participate in any business activities of the Immortal Chamber of Commerce. Even if you die in the line of duty, our Chamber of Commerce will not pay for any funeral expenses. This little brother is too serious." Of course we didn't make a false report. West Mountain Giant Cow was afraid that the staff would doubt it, so it quickly waved its hand to deny it. Then, it pointed to a certain part at the end of the contract and humbly asked, "Oh right, I have a question. May I ask what does the guarantor column here mean?" "Where?" The staff stretched out his head and glanced at it. "Oh," he said. "That's what you need to fill out. It's to guarantee that there's no problem with your strength. If there's any mistake, you'll have to hold the guarantor accountable. If the hired workers are injured or killed because of the partner's mistake, the pension and funeral expenses will be sent to the guarantor." This. Can I not fill in?" West Mountain Giant Cow asked with some difficulty. He and Cheng Menjing had no relatives here, and he didn't know where his other partners were scattered. Who could he find to be a guarantor? Wasn't this making things difficult for him? "No, you have to fill it." The staff refused flatly and immediately added, "And this guarantor must be a relative. If there isn't one, you can't join our Immortal Chamber of Commerce." West Mountain Giant Cow was completely dumbfounded. "Why do I need relatives? I haven't contacted my relatives since 800 years ago. They have probably all turned into ashes. Where can I find them to be a guarantor? Could it be that my attempt to work in the Chamber of Commerce to make money is going to end before it even starts? Excuse me." Just as Xiaofan Giant Bull was feeling depressed, Cheng Menjing's voice suddenly sounded, "Excuse me, I'm his granddaughter, can I vouch for him?" "You?" The staff sized up Cheng Menjing with a hesitant look. "It's like this. Because we've just arrived here, and our relatives and friends are all in our hometown, we can't find a suitable person to be our guarantor. However, we really want this job, so please be magnanimous and make an exception for us." Cheng Menjing once again put on what she thought was the most pitiful expression and pleaded in a low voice. It had to be said that this tactic was time-tested. When the staff saw a great beauty blinking her big watery eyes at him and begging him in a low voice, he would be aroused to protect her no matter what. "All right then. Since you are only signing one contract, let this old man sign it, and you can be his guarantor." The staff pondered for a while, and finally made the decision under Cheng Menjing's eager gaze. "Good, good, good, thank you so much." Xiaofan Giant Bull was overjoyed. He immediately picked up the pen and signed his name on the contract. He was afraid that the staff would not let him sign it when he sobered up. Cheng Menjing also picked up the pen on the table and carefully wrote her name in the guarantor column. After confirming that there was no mistake, she handed the contract to the staff. "All right, you two wait here for a while. I'll go and save the contract, then bring your employee certificates over. By the way, I'll arrange your next work." After checking the signature on the contract, the staff nodded, stood up, and walked into the inner room with the contract. Cheng Menjing and Xiaofan Giant Bull breathed a sigh of relief and began to read the tasks posted around carefully. They wanted to see if there were any missing advertisements posted by Xiao Chen or others. They even asked some strangers around for information, but they still found nothing. Not long after, the staff came back with a token and greeted Cheng Menjing and Xiaofan Giant Bull. Then, he handed the token to Xiaofan Giant Bull and said, "Keep this token. This is your employee certificate in the Immortal Cultivation Chamber of Commerce. If you lose it, you will have to pay a fee to replace it. Xiaofan Giant Ox quickly took the token, then held it in his hand and fiddled with it. He found that it was just an ordinary thing without the slightest aura. It should be prepared for the lowest level workers. Now go to the east street of Moyao Town immediately, find a shop called Ji Shop, and then go in and report to Butler Gao. The staff said unhurriedly, as long as you show him your token and explain the situation, he will arrange a job for you. Xiaofan Giant Bull put away the token, nodded, and asked, "Excuse me, what kind of work do we need to do?" "How do I know?" "When you get there, you can ask Butler Gao. Won't you understand?" At this time, the staff realized that he had been fooled by Cheng Menjing, but he couldn't go back on his word, so he was in a bad mood. He waved his hand impatiently and said, okay, if there's nothing else, you can go now. They are in a hurry to hire people. Don't dawdle here." Xiaofan Giant Bull's mouth twitched, and he clenched his fists quietly. When he was in the inner martial arts world before, when had he ever suffered such vexation? However, Xiaofan Giant Bull also understood that his current situation was different, so although he was angry, he could only nod obediently. After thanking the staff, he walked out of the Dada Cultivation Chamber of Commerce with Cheng Menjing. After going out of the door, Xiaofan Giant Bull remembered that he left in a hurry and forgot to ask the staff how to get to the East Street. Fortunately, the road had been cleaned at this time, and there were many pedestrians. He grabbed a passerby at random, asked for the location, and hurried there with Cheng Menjing. After half an hour, Cheng Menjing and Xiaofan Giant Bull came to the Ji shop and informed the shop assistant, who greeted them warmly. After the shop assistant learned about it, he didn't dare to neglect and immediately ran to report to Butler Gao. They had nothing to do, so they wandered around the shop, thinking that they could learn about the working environment of this shop. Chapter 1405. Cheng Menjing looked around at the four walls of the shop and found that they were all hung with dazzling and strange-looking metals. She couldn't help but ask curiously, "West Mountain Giant Bull, do you know what these strange things are used for? Why have I never seen them before?" "I'm not too sure. Maybe they use them as spiritual artifacts. All the cultivators here have their own spiritual artifacts, which are very high-end." West Mountain Giant Bull studied for a long time and scratched its head uncertainly. Cheng Menjing secretly curled her lips and thought to herself, "You call it high-end just because you have a spiritual artifact? I can defeat all of them with my bare hands. This guy is too cowardly. He doesn't have the posture of a master at all." After walking for a while, Cheng Menjing began to think and guessed, "Do you think that the person sent us here means that we will be salesmen here in the future?" "That's possible." The West Mountain Giant Bull nodded in agreement. Then, it frowned and muttered, "If I have to greet people with a smile all day and sell things, it's too painful. It's better to just kill me. It's not a big deal. You'll get used to it." Cheng Menjing waved her hand casually and said, "Fortunately, I used to sell things like soy milk and youtiao in the morning market. I have some sales experience, so there won't be any problems." "You? What did you say?" West Mountain Giant Bull was stunned. "Did I hear it wrong? I didn't expect that Cheng Menjing, who usually looked like a rich girl, would actually go to sell breakfast. This feeling of incongruity was too strong. I said that I used to be a salesman, so I don't have stage fright. Why are you still deaf at your old age?" Cheng Menjing rolled her eyes at West Mountain Giant Bull. She couldn't bear to see it, so she added, "You don't have to panic. I'll protect you when the time comes." No, that's not what I meant." The Xiaofan Giant Ox could not help but laugh. It looked at Cheng Menjing and teased, "I was too surprised just now. You're a perfected venerable, after all, yet you're reduced to selling those lousy things at the morning market? It was really unexpected." It seemed that the living conditions of the cultivators in the secular world were very difficult. I have to rely on myself. Go to hell, how can you say that? When Cheng Menjing saw that not only was the Xishan giant bull not grateful to her, but it even dared to mock her, she glared at him hatefully and said, "This miss was forced to do that. If not for the fact that Xiao Chen and I were being hunted down by that bastard from the Kuei Mountain sect in the outer martial arts world, how could I have done those menial tasks? Who would be willing to suffer if they could have a good life?" You're saying that exalted immortal Xiao went to sell Youtiao with you? The West Mountain giant bull was startled. It suspected that there was something wrong with its ears, so it asked subconsciously. "Isn't it that big bad guy who got separated from us after entering the portal?" Cheng Menjing snorted and muttered angrily, "This guy, he liked to order me around and make me do this and that. I haven't settled the score with him yet." Thinking of the difficult days when she had to wake up early to set up the stall, Cheng Menjing's face showed a look of reminiscence. To be honest, although it felt very hard, the days when she and Xiao Chen bickered and played around in her memory were quite worth recalling. The Xishan giant bull was very surprised at this time. It was not surprised that Xiao Chen would run to sell breakfast with Cheng Menjing, but why would a dignified cultivator be afraid of the head of a small sect in the outer martial arts world? And in its impression, Ma Wuxia from the Kuei Mountain sect should be the subordinate of Xing Gongzi, right? Xing Gongzi clearly had a close relationship with Xiao Chen. Was this Ma Wuxia crazy or brain-damaged? Why would he go after the partner of his immediate superior? That. Miss Cheng, I'm asking too much. What happened after that? Did Ma Wuxia find you? The Xishan giant bull was puzzled and asked tentatively. Oh, he found you. Cheng Menjing nodded lightly. What happened after that? The Xishan giant bull was stunned and quickly asked. Why so many after that? Do you think you can sing? Cheng Menjing rolled her eyes at it and curled her lips disapprovingly, then he was commanded by Xiao Chen to perform a flying wuxia, and then he died. The Xishan giant bull felt even more strange. Exalted immortal Xiao could have killed Ma Wuxia, but he still wanted to escape. What was wrong with him? Could it be the exalted immortal's quirk? Could it be that Xing Gongzi was dissatisfied with exalted immortal Xiao and Cheng Menjing being together, and was a little jealous, so he sent people to kill him? But why did exalted immortal Xiao run? And when he saw the girls together, there didn't seem to be any estrangement. Then do you know that at that time, exalted immortal Xiao? The Xishan giant bull was about to ask a few more questions in detail when a rush of footsteps suddenly sounded, interrupting the latter half of his words. The two turned their heads and saw that the shop assistant who went to report had returned. Behind him was a slightly chubby middle-aged man. Are you two workers hired by the Immortal Cultivation Chamber of Commerce? The chubby man came in front of the two and looked at them expressionlessly. When he saw that one was an old man with a white beard and the other was a delicate girl, he couldn't help but frown. You must be Butler Gao, right? The Xishan giant bull nodded quickly, then grinned and put on a smile that was uglier than crying. He pointed to himself and said, I'm Xishan giant bull, this is Cheng. However, before the Xishan giant bull finished introducing Cheng Menjing, it was directly interrupted by the arrogant Butler Gao. Don't talk nonsense. I don't care what your names are. Hurry up and come with me. There are still a lot of work waiting for you in the backyard. After that, Butler Gao looked at the two of them up and down a few times. His round face was full of disdain. He turned around and left without looking back, muttering and complaining, what's wrong with that broken chamber of commerce? Didn't they ask them to find some coolies to do the work? Why can't they just hire anyone? It seems that I have to have a good talk with them next time. Butler Gao's voice was not loud, but it was just enough for the Xishan giant bull and Cheng Menjing to hear. The Xishan giant bull's expression was a little distorted, but it also knew that it was not the time to talk back. It could only call Cheng Menjing and follow behind Butler Gao obediently. As the two walked to the backyard, they were still a little puzzled. Shouldn't I be a salesman here? Could it be that I have other work to do? The two walked to the backyard with doubts in their hearts. When they saw the scene in front of them, they couldn't help but be completely shocked. Chapter 1406. Closest to Cheng Menjing and Xishan Giant Cow was a group of ragged workers. They looked very old and weak. At this time, they were busy beside a few large pots that were emitting white smoke. From time to time, they used a special spoon to add materials into the pot, and then worked hard to stir the viscous liquid inside. Beside the large pots, there were piles of various metals. They were very similar to the things that were hung on the wall outside. They should be semi-finished products that had been made. Not far away, there were a few tools for forging metals. Some young men with strong muscles were waving the hammers in their hands and making ha-ha sounds. They were forging the metals into various shapes. After the metals were forged, the young men handed them over to the female workers on the other side for polishing to make the metals look more lustrous and textured. The things that were produced by the hands of the hard-working female workers should be finished products. They looked exactly the same as the ones that Cheng Menjing and the others saw in the shop before. Alright, this is where you'll be working. Before Xishan Giant Cow and Cheng Menjing recovered from the scene in front of them, Butler Gao gave a concise order. This. Xishan Giant Cow looked at the bad working environment in front of it and once again had the urge to escape from the scene. What kind of broken place is this? Aren't they looking down on us too much? But just as this thought came to mind, Xishan Giant Bull helplessly suppressed it. He didn't have many spirit crystals left. If he really chose to escape and didn't work here, then if Butler Gao reported him to the Immortal Cultivator's Chamber of Commerce and blacklisted him, it would be even more difficult for him to work in the future. It couldn't join the horse gang to rob, right? Although it had done a lot of bad things when it was an evil cultivator, it simply burned, killed, and looted. The technical content was too low. Xishan Giant Cow was really not interested. Cheng Menjing also had a look of disgust on her face. Originally, she thought that she was just a salesperson or something, standing in the store and selling things. Although it was a little tiring, at least she only needed to move her mouth. She never thought that she, a dignified young lady of a family, would actually be assigned to do hard labor here. Wasn't the difference a little too big? Looking at the female workers with messy hair and shabby clothes, Cheng Menjing could not imagine herself assimilating with them. That would be too horrible to look at. What is this? You, go refine the raw materials with those old fellows. Butler Gao snorted angrily. He pointed at the Xishan Giant Bull and ordered. Then, he turned to look at Cheng Menjing, you go and polish the metal with the female worker. Ask the workers here about the specific process. Alright, if there's anything else you don't understand, just ask. Xishan Giant Bull took a deep breath, calmed down, and then asked, that. Steward Gao, I would like to ask, how do we calculate our wages? Also, do you provide food and accommodation here? Steward Gao thought for a while, then pointed at the two of them and said, your salary is 1 crystal a day. Since you are a team of 2, you will only get 30 crystals a month. In addition, we will provide 2 meals a day, and someone will arrange a place for you to stay. It can't be. 1 crystal a day? Cheng Menjing's expression was a little dull. Did I hear it wrong? Yes. Steward Gao nodded naturally and added, the first 3 days of work are considered as a probation period. You can't get any crystals. If there's a problem during work, which causes the raw materials to be destroyed or lost, you will also be punished according to the regulations. But it's only 30 crystals a month? Xishan Giant Bull couldn't help but complain and said with a long face, before coming here, the staff of the Immortal Cultivation Chamber of Commerce told us that even the lowest level employee can earn 7 or 8 crystals a day. The wages you pay here are a little too low. Isn't it inappropriate? Xishan Giant Bull felt extremely bitter. After all, he was a master of a sect. He had the task of rebuking the inner martial arts world. Not only did he come here to work for someone, but the wages were so low. He was even worse than a beggar. Don't do it if you think it's low. You two are useless. You don't know anything. How dare you bargain with me? When Steward Gao heard their protest, he laughed disdainfully. His nostrils were almost raised to the sky. Then we should also do things according to the regulations, right? The Chamber of Commerce of Immortal Cultivation has a clear regulation. Xishan Giant Bull tried hard to argue, but he was interrupted by Steward Gao before he could finish speaking. Okay. You want to do things according to the rules, right? Let me tell you the rules. Steward Gao lowered his head and stared at Xishan Giant Bull fiercely. He counted with his fingers and said, "You eat my food and live in my place. Do I have to deduct your food and accommodation fees? Also, the prerequisite for working here is that you have to deduct 500 crystals as a deposit. If you can pay it now, I can pay you 5 crystals a day. What do you think?" You. Cheng Menjing was so angry that she raised her eyebrows and gritted her teeth. She couldn't wait to rush up and slap this damn fatty. However, just when she moved, Xishan Giant Bull immediately stopped in front of her. "We agree. Let's do as you say. 1 crystal is 1 crystal." Before Cheng Menjing lost her temper, Xishan Giant Bull smiled and said to Steward Gao, "If you have something to do, you can do it yourself. We are both very smart, and this work is not difficult. It won't take long for us to learn it." Humph. Do smart people need to work here? Those who are not capable will be useless for a lifetime. They should accept their fate. Steward Gao rolled his eyes at Xishan Giant Bull. He turned around and said a few words to the supervisor. Then, he swaggered away. Cheng Menjing first waved her small fist at Steward Gao's chubby back. Then, she pushed Xishan Giant Bull heavily and scolded, "Are you crazy? Look at what kind of a job you have found. How can you make me do this kind of rough work? It's not even as good as selling breakfast. After working hard for a month, I can only earn 30 crystals. What can we do with that?" Xishan Giant Bull staggered after being pushed, but it didn't dare to push Steward Gao back. It comforted her helplessly. "Actually, I think this job is quite good. They also provide food and accommodation, right? We don't have anywhere else to go. Let's just take it as finding a place to rest. Besides, with our abilities, where can we find a better job? I guess other places are like this too. Don't complain." Chapter 1407. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Please forgive me." Xishan Giant Cow was so scared that it shivered and apologized repeatedly. It was afraid that it would be kicked out by the supervisor and lose its job. Okay, I'll clean it up now. I promise I won't cause you any trouble." Xishan Giant Cow nodded repeatedly. Then, it carried the burnt cauldron with a bitter face. It took the washing utensils that were handed to it and walked to the sink to wash it obediently. The scene was suddenly in chaos, and coughing sounds came one after another as people choked on the black smoke. Many quick-witted workers hurriedly carried buckets of water over and poured it into the cauldron desperately to extinguish the flames. Only then did they luckily stop the fire from happening. "Hey! Xishan Giant Cow, did your brain get hit by a cannon? Who allowed you to add materials to the cauldron casually? You caused trouble on your first day here. Do you want to quit your job?" While Xishan Giant Cow was secretly rejoicing, there was a sudden roar from not far away. It turned out to be from the supervisor at the scene. It didn't expect that it would cause such serious consequences just by adding some materials casually. Now, Xishan Giant Cow could only rejoice that this scene was not seen by Butler Gao. Otherwise, it would definitely be deducted spirit crystals. Thick black smoke mixed with fire instantly sprayed out from the cauldron. Several nearby workers who didn't have time to dodge were all shrouded in the black smoke. Fortunately, the supervisor did not pursue the matter further. He just shouted, "I want you to clean up the scene before dark. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude." Cheng Menjing couldn't help but secretly rejoice that she reacted quickly and took a step back before the explosion. So, she wasn't injured by the explosion, but her whole body was blackened by the smoke. Cough, 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 it's on fire. Get a bucket over here. Hey! Don't mess around. You can't put this material in now. An old man who was busy on the other side saw this scene and quickly ran over to stop it. However, it was too late to stop it. After the Xiaofan giant yak added the black liquid to the sticky substance in the pot, the temperature gradually rose and became hotter and hotter. The surface of the sticky substance kept bubbling, and the whole pot shook back and forth, looking extremely unstable. Seeing that the situation was not good, the old man who was originally running forward immediately retreated. Cheng Menjing also noticed that something was wrong and quietly took a step back. Only Shishan Nyo didn't feel anything and still stuck its head over to see what had happened to the pot. "I can't see where the pot is." "Forget it, I'll just splash it in the darkest place." Cough, cough. "Big sister, do you want to find a place to wash up?" Just as Cheng Menjing was worrying, a young female voice suddenly came from behind her. At the same time that the Shishan giant bull stretched its head over, the sticky substance in the cauldron finally could not withstand the high temperature and directly exploded. "Good your ass. Which eye of yours thinks that this job is good? The spirit crystals we earn here in a month is not even as much as the people who kill a horse gang." Cheng Menjing shouted angrily. Cheng Menjing turned around and saw that it was a girl who was 1 or 2 years younger than her. She was wearing extremely simple clothes and was blinking her big eyes and looking at her sincerely. Bang! As soon as the voice fell, Shishan giant bull picked up what looked like a custom-made spoon and scooped some unknown black liquid from the wooden bucket on the side. Then, it poured it directly into the pot in front of it. Because she was wearing a veil, at this time, her white cheeks were clearly divided into 2 parts. The part above the tip of her nose that was exposed was completely black, and her lips and chin still maintained their original white appearance. Shishan giant bull made a bitter face and didn't say anything. It thought to itself, people who kill horse gangs are all people with strength. You are just a chi refinement stage cultivator, how dare you say this? I'm afraid that before you reach the door of the horse gang's stronghold, you will be shot into a sieve by the soldiers. Shishan giant bull tried to comfort her, but in its heart, it was muttering, "This girl looks soft and weak, but I didn't expect her to be so strong. It seems that she is destined to do rough work." If it weren't for the fact that Shishan giant bull's chest was still slightly moving up and down, others would even think that he had been burnt to a crisp by the fire. What's going on? Who did such a stupid thing? Cough, cough, cough. Cheng Menjing refused to give up. She strode to the side of a big pot that was emitting white smoke, pointed at it, and said angrily, "Look at this yourself, what kind of rubbish is this? I guess with your brain, you may not be able to learn it even if you study for 3 days and 3 nights. Just now, you actually patted your chest and agreed so loudly. Why don't you throw yourself in and stir it? What's so difficult about it? Why don't I think so?" Shishan giant bull also walked over, looked down at the big pot, and said matter-of-factly, "Isn't it just pouring things in and stirring it casually? Look, I'll give you a demonstration." Cough, I realize that you are already so old, how can you still be so reckless? Cheng Menjing, who took a step back, coughed twice, took off her black veil, and took a big breath of fresh air. She didn't forget to complain, "Don't touch things that you shouldn't touch. You haven't even started to learn, and you put things in a mess. You almost blew me up." Shishan giant bull, who was closest to the big pot, was in a state of confusion. It had been standing there in its original posture, motionless. Its originally clean clothes were now black, and its hair was completely wet because of the splashed water, and it kept dripping water. Cheng Menjing looked down at her black and sooty appearance. She also wanted to wash her face and change into suitable clothes for work. But looking around, most of the backyard had been occupied as a place for quenching materials. Except for a few broken wooden huts scattered in the distance, there was no other place to freshen up. Cheng Menjing couldn't help but frown gloomily. After a long time, the black smoke gradually began to dissipate, and the true appearance of the accident scene was gradually revealed. This. Cough, cough, cough. Xiaofan giant bull spat out a few mouthfuls of black gas. It mumbled a few words, and finally lowered its head. It was so ashamed that it didn't know what to say. Until all the black smoke dissipated, Xiaofan giant bull finally breathed a sigh of relief. The spoon in its hand fell to the ground with a clang, and it didn't feel anything when it hit its toe. Chapter 1408. Yes, but I don't think there's a suitable place to wash up here. I'm worried. Cheng Menjing didn't feel any malice from the little girl, so she nodded. My room is closer to here. It's quite convenient to walk there. If you don't mind, why don't I take you to my place to wash up? The little girl smiled brightly and pointed to a place not far away. Then. All right, thank you in advance. Cheng Menjing hesitated for a while and nodded. She followed the little girl and walked to a small wooden house nearby. Because it was still in the backyard, Cheng Menjing didn't have much vigilance. As they walked, she chatted with the little girl. May I ask, what's your name? Oh, my name is Xiaoyu, the moon of the moon. What's your name, sister? Xiaoyu immediately introduced herself and asked Cheng Menjing. My name is Cheng Yaoyao. Today, I also came here with my grandfather, Xiaofan Giant Ox. I didn't expect him to make a mistake and cause trouble for everyone. I'm really sorry. Cheng Menjing smiled bitterly and shook her head. Hee, it's okay. In fact, when I first came here to work, I was also clumsy. At that time, I even got scolded by Butler Gao because I polished a material wrong. That guy is so fierce. Xiaoyu stuck out her tongue cutely and said mischievously. Cheng Menjing looked at her for a few times and found that the little girl's eyebrows were still a little immature. She hadn't fully grown, but she could already see that she was quite pretty. Although she wasn't the kind that could cause the downfall of a city, she still belonged to the type that came from a humble family. When she grew up, she would definitely be a beauty. However, this little girl's body seemed very thin, and her spine was slightly curved. Although her hands were slender, her skin was quite rough. At first glance, it was obvious that she had worked a lot and didn't have enough nutrition. That was why she developed so late. Xiaoyu, how long have you been working here? Cheng Menjing sized him up and asked curiously, you don't look very old. Why are you doing this kind of rough work? According to the laws of the secular world, Xiaoya could be regarded as underage child labor. If she was discovered, she would definitely be fined. Sigh, it's a long story. Those who choose to do this kind of hard labor, which one of them isn't from a poor family? Hearing Cheng Menjing's question, Xiaoya's eyes turned red as if she had recalled her sad past. However, she muttered to herself, but I don't want to live like this for the rest of my life. I will find a way to leave one day, no matter what price I have to pay. Xiaoya's voice was too soft for Cheng Menjing to hear clearly. She couldn't help asking, what did you just say? It's nothing. Xiaoya forced a smile at Cheng Menjing, and then pushed open a door in front of her. This is it. Go in and change your clothes. I'll go get some water for you to wash. Thank you, Xiaoya. Cheng Menjing couldn't stand her dirty appearance, so she didn't refuse. She thanked her and walked in. After entering the room, Cheng Menjing looked at the surrounding environment and found that the room looked relatively dilapidated. The furniture inside was extremely simple. Except for a bed, a table, daily necessities, and a mirror, there was nothing else. No wonder Xiaoye was so at ease to let strangers in. Although it looked very dilapidated, there was no dust in the entire room. It looked relatively clean. The cleanest thing was the mirror. It seemed that even though Xiaoye did such hard work every day, she still maintained the characteristics of a girl. She loved cleanliness and liked to look in the mirror and feel sorry for herself. With a slight sigh, Cheng Menjing put aside the thoughts in her mind and took off her dirty clothes. Then, she opened her luggage and chose a relatively simple dress to wear. After wearing it, Cheng Menjing looked at her face in front of the mirror. She found that her nose, eyelids, and forehead were all dark stains, but her lips and chin were the same as before. It was like a Zorro wearing a mask. Not long after, someone knocked on the door gently. After waiting for Cheng Menjing to respond, the door was opened again. Xiaoye entered the door with a basin of water and placed it on the table. Then, she looked at Cheng Menjing with a smile and said, "Sister Yaoyao, hurry up and wash it. We have to get things done quickly and go back to work. Otherwise, the supervisor will scold us again." Okay. Cheng Menjing nodded and immediately walked over. She bent down and quickly washed the stains on her face. Fortunately, the black dust was originally stuck to her face, so it was easier to wash. So, after a little rubbing, it fell off, and the clear water in the basin suddenly turned black. While waiting for Cheng Menjing to finish washing her face, Xiaoye picked up the dirty clothes on the side and put them in a large basin in the corner. It seemed to be used for washing clothes. Standing up, Xiaoye turned around and walked back. Her eyes inadvertently swept across Cheng Menjing's luggage and couldn't help but exclaim, "Wow! Sister Yaoyao, your clothes are so beautiful." Xiaoye felt that the clothes in the luggage seemed to have magic, attracting her step by step. She didn't forget to say enviously, "Sister Yaoyao, where did you buy your clothes? I've never seen such beautiful clothes in any of the clothing stores in our town. Even the most expensive treasures can't compare to them. You must have been a rich lady in the past, right?" Walking to the front of the luggage, Xiaoye looked down at the exquisite and beautiful clothes. She didn't dare to touch them, and her pupils were shining with envy. "It's nothing. If you like it, I can give you one." At this time, Cheng Menjing had already wiped her face clean. She picked up a high-end custom-made dress bought in the secular world and stuffed it into Xiaoye's hands. In fact, after entering the inner Wulin, Cheng Menjing rarely wore the clothes of the secular world. She still felt that ancient robes were more comfortable, and they looked quite sage-like. The most important thing was that they could cover her small chest, so she hadn't touched those clothes of the secular world for a long time. "Really?" Xiaoye looked at the clothes in her hands with surprise and joy. Suddenly she came to her senses and quickly handed the clothes back. "No, Sister Yaoyao, these clothes are too expensive. I can't accept them." Although she said so, Xiaoye's eyes were still fixed on the clothes in her hands, as if it was good to look at them a few more times. Chapter 1409. It's nothing. Just take it. Cheng Menjing pushed the clothes back and said with a smile, "I was so dirty just now. It was you who took the initiative to bring me back to change clothes and wash up. I haven't had the chance to thank you yet. You have helped me so much. Just take this as my thank you gift." Well, thank you so much, Sister Yaoyao." Xiaoye hesitated for a while and finally accepted the clothes. Then, she happily took it in front of the mirror and compared it with her own figure. She found that it fit quite well, and the smile on her face couldn't help but become brighter. After a while, Xiaoye remembered that Yao Yao was still waiting for her. She quickly turned her head and smiled happily, "Sister Yaoyao, you are so good to me. I don't even know what to. Huh. Huh. What's wrong? Is there still something on my face that hasn't been washed clean? Looking at Xiaoya staring at herself, the smile on her face gradually froze. Cheng Menjing was a little surprised and touched her own face. Then, she moved closer to the mirror and carefully looked at it a few times, but she couldn't see anything different. No. No. Hearing Cheng Menjing's question, Xiaoya suddenly woke up and quickly shook her head. I just think. Sister Yaoyao, you look very good. Huh, you little girl, your mouth is really sweet. Do you want me to give you some clothes? Hearing someone praise her, Cheng Menjing was naturally very happy, but she still teased her with a smile. Huh. Yes, I really look good. Xiaoya stamped her feet and suddenly thought of something. She bit her lower lip shyly and said softly, actually, Sister Yaoyao, you are so good that you don't need to come to this kind of place to work. If you are willing. Forget it, it's nothing. Let's hurry up and do our work. Let me teach you how to grind those metals in the most convenient way. Xiaoya's voice was low, so Cheng Menjing was careless and didn't hear what she was saying. She thought that Xiaoya thought she was beautiful and her clothes were beautiful, so she couldn't help but laugh. She felt a trace of pity for this tender little girl. At the same age, when she was living a luxurious life, some people came out to work because their families were poor. The clothes that she threw aside were all envious. Looking at Xiaoya, who was skipping out of the room, Cheng Menjing secretly made a decision. Anyway, I probably won't be staying here for too long. Before I leave, I'll give all the clothes in the secular world to Xiaoya. Anyway, I'll just leave them here and they'll take up space. It was better to give it to someone who needed it the most. In the following period of time, the two of them were led by different people to learn the work they had to do. After a busy day, Cheng Menjing and Xishan Giant Yak were covered in dirt and grime. Their expressions were also very dejected. Although the content of their work was relatively simple, as long as they remembered the proportion of each quenching material, compared with their previous life, the feeling of difference was too big, so both of them felt particularly depressed. That night, the two were assigned to a small shabby house. The environment inside was similar to Xiaoya's room. Because the two only received one salary, it was obvious that they only lived in one room. After Cheng Menjing entered the door, she immediately blocked the door and ordered Xishan Giant Yak not to come in. She found a place to stay. After all, men and women should not touch each other. Other than Xiao Chen, Cheng Menjing could not accept sleeping with other men in the same room, even if she knew that the old man would not dare to do anything excessive to her. Although Xishan Giant Yak felt aggrieved, it could also understand Cheng Menjing's vigilance. She was a mortal Zhao's woman, so it was natural for her to have some privileges. Thinking of this, it did not intend to argue and slept on the stone slab outside the door. In the following days, the two repeatedly did the same work, mechanically and monotonously. At first, Cheng Menjing was a little emotional, but later, she accepted her fate. Every day, she went out early and came back late. Not only was she exhausted, but from time to time, she was also looked down by butler Gao, who came to inspect her. In Cheng Menjing's opinion, selling youtiao in the morning market was better than this job. There was Xiao Chen to take care of the overall situation, and she only needed to move her lips. But working here was not only boring, but before she finished her work at night and took a shower, she was always covered in dust, and even her face could not be seen clearly. Every night when it was quiet, Cheng Menjing would stare at the empty ceiling. She was very upset. She came to the world of immortal cultivation to find out the whereabouts of her uncle, Cheng Zhongqian. In the end, even Xiao Chen and the others were lost. Now, she was reduced to working in such a shabby place. She was really unlucky. Cheng Menjing's only interest now was to be able to chat with Xiaoya. However, the two of them only chatted casually and did not get to know each other deeply. This was because Cheng Menjing always felt that she could leave at any time, and did not want to be reluctant to part when the time came. And in the process of chatting, Cheng Menjing always felt that Xiaoya's character was a little strange. She seemed to like to talk about some irrelevant things, often fantasizing about getting rich overnight and then escaping from her current difficult life. Although Cheng Menjing had reservations about Xiaoya's unrealistic fantasies, she did not say it directly. After all, this was her own values. Even if she did not agree with it, she was in no position to change it. On this day, Cheng Menjing came to the backyard early in the morning to prepare the materials for work. However, after a while, she found that Xiaoya had not come. After lunch, she still did not see Xiaoya. At first, Cheng Menjing thought that Xiaoya was sick, so she hurriedly ran to her room to visit her. However, as soon as she opened the door, Cheng Menjing was a little dumbfounded. She saw that the originally very simple room was empty at this time. Except for the heavy furniture, all the daily necessities had disappeared, including the clothes that Cheng Menjing had given to Xiaoya. Originally, Xiaoya had carefully hung them on the side of the wardrobe. At this time, they had also disappeared. The whole room was clean, as if no one had ever lived here. Seeing this scene, Cheng Menjing could not help but be puzzled. Did Xiaoya leave? Or did she change her residence? Cheng Menjing, who was puzzled, took advantage of the free time in the afternoon to find an older old man to ask about the situation. "Hello, uncle. I want to ask, have you seen Xiaoya these days?" In Cheng Menjing's impression, Xiaoya seemed to go to talk to this old man often these days, so she guessed that the other party might know something. Chapter 14:10. Little you? The old man stopped what he was doing and thought for a while with his white eyebrows furrowed. He suddenly realized something and said, "Oh, you mean that little girl? I heard that she found a way to get to know the youngest son of a family in town and became their concubine." "What? Become a concubine?" Cheng Menjing thought that she had heard wrongly and confirmed again, "You mean she became someone's concubine? Isn't that so?" The old man shook his head and sighed helplessly. How could a young and pretty girl like her be willing to do this kind of hard labor? In the past, many poor young women who came to work couldn't resist the temptation of glory and wealth and ran to become someone's concubine. I don't know what happened to them in the end. No. No way. Little you is actually a vain person? Why didn't I notice? Cheng Menjing muttered to herself in shock and felt that she couldn't accept it. Although she had often heard Xiaoya complain about the unfairness of fate, Cheng Menjing had always thought that she was just fond of fantasizing and was relatively naive. She did not expect that she would actually leave so suddenly. Without even saying goodbye, she disappeared without a trace. Why not? The old man glanced at Cheng Menjing and said faintly, "A few days ago, she kept asking me about the rich children in town. I knew that she couldn't continue to suffer and it was only a matter of time before she left here." After that, the old man couldn't be bothered with the dumbfounded Cheng Menjing anymore and turned to do his own work. Cheng Menjing felt as if she had been struck by lightning and was completely speechless. She also admitted that the extravagant world outside was indeed a great temptation for a young girl who had not yet matured. However, if she were to stand in her own shoes, she would never marry someone she didn't know about just because of money or power. What was the difference between that and selling her body? What's more, little Yu was marrying into the family as a concubine. This was even more unacceptable to Cheng Menjing. "Oh, great Aunt Cheng, looking at you, don't tell me you're also tempted?" West Mountain Giant Bull happened to pass by at this time. Looking at Cheng Menjing's thoughtful expression, it carried the wooden bucket with the quenching materials and teased with an evil smile, "Why don't you learn from that little you and marry a random rich man? Then, on your wedding night, I'll sneak in at night and help you knock him out. Then, we'll get all the spirit crystals out of his house. That way, we won't have to do hard labor anymore. What do you think?" Hearing Xishan Giant Bull's suggestion, Cheng Menjing couldn't help but get angry. She simply gave him a hard kick, stared at him with her hands on her hips and scolded, "Go to hell. You might as well become someone's concubine, and then I'll think of a way to rescue you. Thinking about all these nonsense all day long, aren't you ashamed? Hurry up and get back to work." Ouch! West Mountain Giant Bull was caught off guard and was kicked. It suddenly felt a pain in its calf and lost its center of gravity and fell to the side. The wooden bucket in its hand tilted slightly, and some of the quenching materials inside just happened to leak out and drip into another wooden bucket with other materials. But at this time, West Mountain Giant Bull was trying hard to maintain its center of gravity and didn't notice anything strange at all. Cheng Menjing didn't notice this situation either. She just snorted and prepared to go back to her workplace. "Hey, old bull, the raw materials in these pots are almost quenched. You can add that bucket of starlight oil." The old man who was chatting with Cheng Menjing just finished checking all the pots and turned around to instruct West Mountain Giant Bull. Okay, I'm coming." West Mountain Giant Bull quickly agreed, then put down the wooden bucket in its hand, picked up another wooden bucket with starlight oil on the ground, and ran over. Slow down, pay attention to the dosage, don't blow it up like last time." The old man looked at West Mountain Giant Bull trotting all the way and couldn't help but exhort. West Mountain Giant Bull carefully poured the starlight oil into each pot and proudly showed off, "Old Zhang, don't worry. I'm a skilled worker now, how can I make such a low-level mistake? Hee, it's better to be safe than sorry." The old man called Old Zhang grinned and said with a smile, "After all, these are dangerous materials, if you're not careful." Mr. Zhang's words were stuck in his throat. Just now, he inadvertently glanced at the pot and felt that something was wrong. He suddenly looked down and found that the ingredients in the pot were constantly changing color. His face immediately sank and he said sternly, "The color is wrong. What did you put in it? Don't tell me you mixed up the other materials. How is that possible?" West Mountain Giant Bull was stunned and flatly denied it. It picked up the wooden bucket and argued, "I clearly put in starlight oil. If you don't believe me, you can see for yourself, there are still some left here." After that, Xishan Giant Ox handed over the barrel. Old Zhang looked into the barrel and found that there was some yellowish-brown material left at the bottom. It was indeed celestial rainbow oil, but if you look closely, you can still find some purple viscous material floating on it. "That's not right, look at the purple stuff, obviously there are other materials mixed in." Old Zhang saw the problem at a glance, pointed to the purple stuff and said, "Hey! This isn't me." West Mountain Giant Bull discovered this situation, and its expression was a little surprised. It was about to say that it didn't do it, but Old Zhang happened to look up at the big pots. His face suddenly changed, and he shouted, "Everyone, run! These materials are going to explode. Hurry up and find a safe place to hide." After that, Old Zhang didn't care to listen to West Mountain Giant Bull's explanation. He took the lead and fled the scene. The other laborers nearby were also shocked when they heard this. They quickly put down the work in their hands and hid in the wooden house not far away. Looking at the 5 or 6 big pots in front of it emitting strange purple smoke, West Mountain Giant Bull was alarmed. It immediately called Cheng Menjing, who was not far away, and quickly fled in the direction of the wooden house. Although it didn't know how powerful the explosion Old Zhang said was, West Mountain Giant Bull could feel that the problem this time must be very serious. Maybe the entire backyard would be destroyed. Boom! Sure enough, shortly after West Mountain Giant Bull and Cheng Menjing hid in the small wooden house, the big pots in the middle of the yard made a loud noise at the same time. The purple sticky liquid inside instantly erupted into the air, like a beautiful and strange fountain. Chapter 14:11. When it reached a certain height, the purple mucus began to fall slowly like rain, drenching everything in the backyard. The sound of objects being corroded continued. All the flowers and trees that were covered by the mucus festered and withered in an instant. Even the tools used for quenching and the simple houses were not spared. They were all eroded by the purple mucus. Fortunately, at this time, all the laborers had hidden in their rooms. Although each house was corroded to varying degrees, fortunately, the roof was still thick. It did not collapse, and no one was injured by the purple mucus. It was a blessing in misfortune. After about an hour or so, the chi-chi sound outside disappeared. Only then did the people in the room carefully poke their heads out and look around. After confirming that the corrosion in the backyard had ended and that all the purple mucus had fallen, a few bold people stepped out. Looking at the backyard that looked like hell on earth, they couldn't help but look at each other and shiver subconsciously. Fortunately, old Zhang discovered the abnormality and reminded everyone in time. Otherwise, everyone present would definitely die with grievances. At the same time, Butler Gao also received the news. He rushed back with several bodyguards angrily. Looking at the backyard that had become a ruin, Butler Gao couldn't help but roar in anger, "All of you, come out. Who the F***ck did this? Stand up for me. Are you tired of living? Believe it or not, I will kill all of you." That. Butler Gao, I poured the quenching materials in, but I don't know what's going on. Xiaofan giant cow walked out of the hut and pointed to the wooden barrel that was riddled with holes and said, "I am sure that I took the star rainbow oil, but it was mixed with other purple liquids. I suspect that it was the person who sold you the materials." Xiaofan giant bull was about to argue, but before it could finish speaking, it was interrupted by Steward Gao's rough wave of his hand. "What are you suspecting?" Steward Gao was so angry that he stomped his feet. He pointed at Xiaofan giant bull and scolded, "What king piece of trash. Last time, I had already forgiven you once for the sake of your age. I didn't expect you to be so stupid this time. Are you tired of living?" Xiaofan giant cow's face collapsed and it wanted to argue again. "Butler Gao, I really don't know. If you don't believe me, you can ask old Zhang." At that time, Shut up. Butler Gao didn't want to listen to it anymore. He directly gestured to the bodyguards behind him and shouted angrily, "Go, kill this old thing. Anyway, he can't afford to pay for so many things. It's useless to keep his cheap life. Let's send him to the coffin today." Several bodyguards immediately obeyed the order and then rolled up their sleeves aggressively, ready to rush forward and take action. Xiaofan giant ox's expression greatly changed. He quickly stepped back, stretched out his hand and shouted, "Wait. I am a blue-collar senior foreign-related employee of the Immortal Cultivators Chamber of Commerce. As the employer, you have no right to execute me privately. Aren't you afraid that the Dada Immortal Cultivation Chamber of Commerce will hold you responsible? Humph. I will say that you were careless and died in an industrial accident. At most, you will just have to pay a sum of money." Butler Gao was not afraid at all. He sneered and said, "You have already destroyed this place. It will cost me a lot of money to restore it to its original state. I don't care about the compensation of spirit crystals." In Butler Gao's eyes, Xiaofan giant cow was just an ant. He could kill it with a flick of his finger. The Chamber of Commerce of Immortal Cultivation was easy to deal with. Seeing that Butler Gao was not flustered at all, Xiaofan giant cow was suddenly scared. There was a burst of chill in its heart, and it stood there feeling a little overwhelmed. It originally wanted to use the name of the Dada Immortal Cultivation Chamber of Commerce to scare Butler Gao and make him stop. It didn't expect him to not care at all. Is there any powerful force behind this small shop? Gao. I also participated in the process of refining the materials, so I am also responsible for this matter. Seeing that the situation was not good, Cheng Menjing immediately walked out of the house and said coldly, "You can't kill 2 employees of the Chamber of Commerce at once, can you? Otherwise, no matter how lenient the Chamber of Commerce is, they will never sit back and do nothing. Think about it. Although Qing Menjing didn't like Xishan Giant Cow, the two of them were closely related. He was her only partner in the world of immortal cultivation, so she didn't want this guy to bear everything alone. Why can't I? Butler Gao's mouth curved into a sinister smile. When he was about to ridicule her, he saw Qing Menjing, who was not wearing a veil. Butler Gao's eyes suddenly lit up, and he took back his original words. He looked at Qing Menjing up and down with an extremely wretched look. Seeing Butler Gao's look, Qing Menjing was slightly stunned at first, but she soon understood. When she first came, she was wearing a veil, so he didn't know what she looked like. However, after working, she needed to lower her head and polish tools every day. Qing Menjing felt that the veil was a little troublesome, so she took it off, and Butler Gao saw her original appearance. Seeing Butler Gao's greedy expression, Qing Menjing felt a little nauseous and quietly took a step back. Butler Gao immediately stepped forward, squeezed a smile, and said in a croaky voice, "How about this? If you are willing to follow me in the future and become my 8th concubine, then I can let bygones be bygones. Maybe if you serve me well, I can even let your grandfather be a small leader." What kind of sweet dream are you having? If you are sick, go and take your medicine. Qing Menjing glared at him with disgust, then turned to Xishan Giant Bull and said, "Grandpa, we quit. Let's leave this damn place." Qing Menjing didn't want to stay in this place for a moment. Anyway, she had just received her salary a few days ago. Although there were only a dozen spirit crystals after deducting the fine, it was enough for the two of them to use for a while. At most, they could find other ways to find Xiao Chen. Why should they suffer here? In fact, Qing Menjing had long thought of quitting. After working so hard for a month, she only earned a few spirit crystals. Moreover, she had to listen to others. How could she, who had been pampered since she was a child, be willing to do that? Moreover, she was now a master at the great completion of the nascent soul realm. If she really couldn't do it, she could simply expose her strength and find some high-level jobs to do. There was no need to compromise. Chapter 14:12. Xishan Giant Bull gritted his teeth, and his heart was filled with anger for no reason. During this period of time, other people were tolerant of Qing Menjing because she was a girl, but they were merciless to him, who looked like an old man. They humiliated and scolded him. Why did he do that? Now there was an inexplicable explosion, and the guy in front of him framed him without any explanation. As the saying goes, even a clay figurine has 3 points of anger. He was the leader of an evil cultivator and was regarded as the most vicious and sinister cultivator in the martial arts world. Why should he be bullied in this damn place? Thinking of this, Xishan Giant Bull nodded and said bitterly, "Okay. Then we will." "What did you just say? Quit? Leave this place?" Before Xishan Giant Bull could finish speaking, Steward Gao's face suddenly darkened, and a trace of ferocity flashed in his eyes. He stared at the two people in front of him and said coldly, "Then it's not up to you two to decide. Do you think that Ji Chamber of Commerce is a place where you can come and go as you please? Since Steward Gao has spoken so ruthlessly, I can only force my way in." Xishan Giant Bull knew that the current situation had reached a decisive moment. He was not willing to pretend to be obedient and pitiful anymore, so he shouted with a serious face. Following the Xishan Giant Yak's voice, a dense amount of yuan qi gradually gushed out from his dantian and slowly covered his arms. His body slightly trembled as he displayed the strength of a first-level foundation establishment stage cultivator, intending to forcefully break out of the encirclement. Ha ha ha. So powerful, first level of the foundation establishment stage. Steward Gao laughed arrogantly a few times, and the fat on his chin trembled for a long time. Then he lowered his head to stare at Xishan Giant Bull and said with a sneer, "Today, I finally see what it means to be a mantis trying to stop a chariot. You overestimate yourself. With a wave of Steward Gao's hand, the bodyguards behind him all surrounded them and revealed their strength. One of the leaders was an expert at the second level of the Foundation establishment stage, while the others were all at the peak of the Qi refinement stage. With the emergence of their strength, the group of bodyguards also took out their oddly shaped magic weapons and stared at Xishan Giant Bull and Cheng Menjing. Xishan Giant Ox's expression was somewhat solemn. He knew that his strength as a first-level Foundation establishment cultivator wasn't much in the cultivation world. Originally, he had hoped that there wouldn't be any experts in this small shop. At most, there would be a few Qi condensation cultivators and he would be able to hold them off for a while. He didn't expect that the first wave of bodyguards would have a second-level Foundation establishment cultivator. Could it be that there was a powerful force behind this shop? Butler Gao did not care about what Xishan Giant Bull was thinking. Instead, he looked at its flustered expression with satisfaction. After admiring it for a while, he gave an order to the bodyguards who had been eyeing them for a long time to rush forward. The Foundation establishment stage bodyguard took a peek Qi refining stage bodyguard and directly attacked Xishan Giant Bull, while the other Qi refining stage bodyguards moved towards Cheng Menjing, preparing to control this little girl first. While they were moving, their eyes were also secretly staring at Xishan Giant Bull, ready to help at any time. Seeing this, Xishan Giant Bull's expression changed dramatically. Taking advantage of the fact that the Foundation establishment stage bodyguard had not yet approached, he quickly flashed over and stood in front of Cheng Menjing. "You, what are you doing?" Cheng Menjing was shocked. She was thinking about how to use her body technique to escape from this place. Suddenly, Xishan Giant Bull's back appeared in front of her. "Miss Cheng, you run first. I'll help you." Xishan Giant Bull did not notice Cheng Menjing's annoyance. Instead, he hurriedly whispered, "I guess today's trouble is a little big, and I may not be able to solve it properly. If I can't escape and can't come to you, you must find a way to find Immortal Xiao and let him come back to avenge me." When Cheng Menjing heard what Xishan Giant Bull said, she couldn't help but be stunned. Looking at his slightly bent back, she felt a little sorry for him. To be honest, during this period of time, Cheng Menjing felt that this old man, Xishan Jinyunyu, was pretty good. Although he used to be Xiao Chen's enemy, after coming to the immortal cultivation world, he took good care of her. He always thought for her, and even fought to do the dirty and tiring work. Actually, Cheng Menjing also knew in her heart that Xishan Giant Yak was also afraid that Xiao Chen would find trouble with him, so he treated her a little better. But no matter what, this old man usually took care of her, so she definitely couldn't just watch him throw away his life. Just as Cheng Menjing was thinking, the bodyguards in the Qi refining stage had approached quickly. Xishan Giant Bull did not have time to urge her to leave quickly. He immediately activated his primordial Qi and turned it into a burst of black fog. Taking advantage of the fact that the bodyguards in the Qi refining stage were not prepared, he pushed his palms out. The black fog in his palms suddenly became fierce. It shot out from his arms like lightning and expanded rapidly. It swept towards the two bodyguards in the Qi refining stage who rushed at the front. When the two bodyguards saw this, they immediately threw out their magic weapons and kept chanting. One of the magic weapons released a lightning strike as thick as an arm at the black fog, while the other magic weapon instantly condensed a burst of ice crystals, turning into a barrier, trying to resist the attack of the black fog. Abyss Devour. Xishan Giant Bull directly ignored the actions of the two bodyguards. Instead, he suddenly shouted, and the black fog he controlled became thicker with his roar. It was not affected by the lightning strike and the ice crystals at all. In just a breath's time, the black fog was like a giant beast. It suddenly opened its bloody mouth and directly swallowed the two bodyguards together with their magic weapons. "Help! Help! Ah!" A shrill scream came from the black fog, and then the voice became weaker and weaker until it disappeared. It could be seen that the two people inside had died. Seeing a pool of blood slowly flowing out from the bottom of the thick black fog, Steward Gao realized that the people inside had been killed by Xi'an giant bull. He immediately jumped in anger and shouted at the bodyguard in the Foundation establishment stage on the other side, "What are you still doing? Hurry up and kill that old thing." The bodyguard in the Foundation establishment stage had missed his target before. He thought that Xi'an giant bull was not so powerful, so he was a little careless. He did not expect that in the blink of an eye, this old guy would kill two people at the peak of the qi refining stage with one move. At this time, he did not dare to hold a contemptuous attitude anymore. He quietly clenched the emerald green giant ruler in his hand, flew into the air in a flash, and smashed it hard at Xi'an giant bull's head. "Motherf *Ker, you actually want to take turns to fight me?" Seeing the bodyguard attacking from the air, Xi'an giant bull could not help but curse. Chapter 14-13. The Xi'an giant bull was now exhausted and had not yet recovered its strength. It originally wanted to dodge backward, but on second thought, it considered that Cheng Menjing, the soft and weak girl, was still standing behind it. It had no choice but to stand still and condense the remaining primordial qi in its body again. It crossed its arms and aimed at the guy's giant ruler, intending to take the opponent's fierce attack head-on. "Hee, old man, you actually want to use your own body to resist the magic weapon. It seems that you are really old and confused." The bodyguard of the Foundation establishment stage sneered and waved the giant ruler without hesitation. He increased his strength and smashed it on the Xi'an giant bull's arm. He shouted, "Second layer qi." Bang! The Xi'an giant bull felt a strong pain in its arm, as if it had been hit by a blunt weapon. It was so painful that it almost fainted. However, this was not the most important thing. At the moment when the giant ruler touched its arm, the Xi'an giant bull immediately noticed that a trace of white qi had quietly passed through the giant ruler into its body. The Xi'an giant bull was suddenly alarmed. It quickly endured the pain and mobilized its primordial qi to wrap it in a hurry. Sure enough, when the trace of white qi wandered near the Xi'an giant bull's chest, it exploded with a boom. Even though some of the power was blocked by the primordial qi, it still caused a lot of damage to the Xi'an giant bull. Wah! The Xi'an giant bull opened its mouth and spat out a large mouthful of blood. Its legs were trembling and it staggered back a few steps. Finally, it could not support itself and sat down next to Cheng Menjing. It kept panting and trying to adjust its breathing. All of this happened too fast. When Cheng Menjing reacted, the Xi'an giant bull was already sitting on the ground. She was a little worried and wanted to check on the Xi'an giant bull's injury. However, before she could take a step forward, she was surrounded by several bodyguards who rushed over. "Ha ha ha, you reckless thing. You are only at the first level of the Foundation establishment stage. How dare you fight against a second level of the Foundation establishment stage?" Butler Gao clicked his tongue and shook his head. "And you are stupid enough to take the opponent's magic weapon with your bare hands. I really don't understand. With your IQ, how can you live to such an old age?" "Xi'an. Grandpa. How are you?" Cheng Menjing ignored him and asked loudly. The Xi'an giant bull waved its hand with difficulty, indicating that it was fine. Seeing that Miss Cheng was surrounded by a group of bodyguards, Xi'an Junyunyu felt a little bitter in its heart. It had wanted her to retreat first, but it didn't work out in the end. It looked like both of them were going to die here today. Housekeeper Gao crossed his arms in front of his chest, and the fat on his face was squeezed into a bun by his smile. He said in the kindest tone he could muster, "Little girl, don't put up any meaningless resistance. Even if it's for the sake of your grandfather's safety, you'd better come back with me obediently. You don't force this young lady to make a move." Cheng Menjing stared at Steward Gao and said with a lack of confidence, "I don't want to kill people. I've never liked to do that." In fact, it wasn't that Cheng Menjing didn't want to fight. She wanted to smash Steward Gao's disgusting face into pieces. However, the most helpless thing was that she had the cultivation of the peak of the original infant stage, but had never learned any martial arts. She didn't know how to fight at all. Fly this and fly that? Oh. You're talking about a threesome, right? Steward Gao's lust was aroused. He licked his lips wretchedly and said with a strange smile, "Hee, don't worry, I'll let you experience all the tricks one by one. If you don't like threesome, then we'll do it step by step." The more Steward Gao spoke, the more excited he became. He felt a little restless in his lower abdomen, so he simply waved his hand and said, "You guys, take her to my room. As for the old man on the ground, tie him up and throw him into the woodshed first. When this little girl serves me well, then I'll let him out." Looking at the Qi refining stage bodyguards approaching her, as well as the Foundation establishment stage bodyguard who found a rope and was about to make a move on Xishan Giant Cow, Cheng Menjing bit her lower lip as her mind raced. At this critical moment, an idea suddenly came to Cheng Menjing's mind. She imitated what Xishan Giant Cow had done earlier and activated the Qi in her body. Then, she condensed the Qi in her palms and closed her eyes to feel it for a while. Suddenly, she pushed her palms forward. Whoosh! The sound of something breaking through the air suddenly rang out. The bodyguards were still wondering what Cheng Menjing was trying to do when they felt an earth-shattering force coming towards them. The bodyguards didn't have the slightest ability to resist. Their expressions changed from one of confidence to one of extreme horror. In the next moment, they were blasted away. The moment they were blasted into the air, the bodyguards were horrified to realize that the weak woman in front of them had hidden her strength. Those few Qi condensation stage bodyguards didn't even have the time to say anything before they were already dead. As for that second-level Foundation establishment stage bodyguard, he only managed to shout, "Yuan." Before he also didn't make a sound. From the moment Cheng Menjing stretched out her fair palm to the boundless blue sky that flashed past their eyes, this was the last scene they would see in their lives. What's going on? Looking at the bodyguards who were blasted into the air by the force and then fell to the ground like mud, Steward Gao's eyes almost popped out. He couldn't believe what he had just seen. "How about it? Do you want to try too?" A cold female voice came. Steward Gao looked up and saw Cheng Menjing still stretching out her hands and staring at him coldly as if she would make a move at any time. You are a nascent soul stage master." Steward Gao was shocked. Only now did he understand that the Foundation establishment stage bodyguard didn't finish his sentence. He was shocked and immediately knelt down. Bang, 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 he used all his strength to kowtow. Cheng Menjing glanced at him and went over to help Xishan Giant Bull up. She gave him a look. Housekeeper Gao was still kowtowing and begging weakly, "Upper Immortal. Immortal Nun. I know I was wrong, I was really wrong. You are a magnanimous person, please don't bother with a useless person like me. Can you let me live? I will remember your great kindness and never dare to forget it for the rest of my life." As he muttered to himself, Steward Gao was actually a little dumbfounded in his heart. Oh my God, why did a nascent soul stage expert suddenly come here to do hard labor for no reason? He even insulted her for having no IQ and calling her trash. Wasn't this just slapping his own face? Besides, this girl, Immortal, is so powerful, why didn't she go and kill horse bandits? Did she come here to experience life among the common people? Is she crazy? She really scared this steward to death. Chapter 14:14. After kowtowing for a while, Butler Gao felt that his head was a little dizzy. He simply chose to stick his forehead tightly to the ground, and then he continued to express his regret. Before getting Cheng Menjing's forgiveness, Butler Gao didn't dare to stand up casually. He could only keep kneeling on the ground. However, after kneeling for a long time, he finally felt that something was wrong. Why was it so quiet? Not to mention the sound of Cheng Menjing's voice, there wasn't even the sound of footsteps. Raising his head slightly, Butler Gao found that Cheng Menjing and Xishan Giant Bull, who were originally in front of him, had long disappeared. There were only a few dead bodyguards around him, and the laborers in the room who were looking at him kowtowing and apologizing in a daze. Their eyes were looking at him as if they were watching a monkey show. Butler Gao was stunned. After a long time, he got up and casually grabbed a laborer to ask. Only then did he know that the two had already left when he knelt and kowtowed. Moreover, they looked like they were in a hurry, as if they were running for their lives. Hearing what the laborer said, Butler Gao's first reaction was to not believe it. The other party was a nascent soul stage master. They could kill him with a flick of their fingers. Why would they run for their lives? They must have more important things to do, that's why they left so quickly. However, the intention of his apology must have been felt by Lady Immortal. After thinking for a while, Butler Gao gritted his teeth. A trace of ruthlessness flashed across his face. He ordered the laborers to clean up the scene, and he turned around to report to his superiors. On the east street of Moyao Town, there were many stalls on the street. They were all placed outside by the local people. They were usually used to sell small things to earn extra money. This afternoon, the neighbors all saw a plain-clothed woman pulling an old man's clothes. She looked flustered as she ran, stumbling across the entire East Street. Some people with sharp eyes saw that they seemed to have slipped out from the back door of a shop. Moreover, as the woman ran forward, she kept looking back, as if she was avoiding someone chasing her. Although the woman was petite, her running speed was very fast. Although she ran in a hurry, she didn't knock over any of the shops outside. Not long after, she disappeared into the alley at the end of the street. These two people were Cheng Menjing and Xishan Giant Bull, who had escaped from the Ji Chamber of Commerce's backyard. They wanted to find a place to hide first, but they didn't know where to go. They could only rely on their intuition to travel through the alleys, but they ran around like headless flies. They didn't know how they ran into the desert, but they also encountered a small sandstorm, causing them to lose their way. As the sky gradually turned dark, the sandstorm also gradually dissipated, and a bright half-moon hung in the sky. Cheng Menjing found a more stable place that was not too dusty and placed the Xishan Giant Bull down. Then, she looked around, especially vigilant of the movement behind her. After confirming that no one was chasing them, she let out a long sigh of relief. The Xishan Giant Bull had been running since it escaped in the afternoon, and it didn't have time to heal itself. At this time, while circulating its primordial qi to heal itself, it asked the question that it had been hiding for the entire afternoon, "Lady Cheng, I say, why are you so powerful? You are not worse than immortal Xiao at all. I estimate that you have at least the strength of the 5th or 6th level of the nascent soul stage, right?" Although it was injured and was adjusting its breath, the Xishan Giant Bull could also feel the pressure released by Cheng Menjing. Because it couldn't feel it clearly under the state of adjusting its breath, the Xishan Giant Bull guessed that she was at least an expert in the middle stage of the nascent soul stage. Nonsense, I am Xiao Chen's fiancé, how can I be worse than that guy? Otherwise, how can I control him? Speaking of which, he is my former servant. Cheng Menjing rolled her eyes and said matter-of-factly. Speaking of this, Cheng Menjing suddenly thought of something. She immediately released her divine sense and expanded it to its maximum range. Then, she carefully checked the movements in her surroundings. In fact, as a cultivator, there was no need to learn martial arts at all. They could use a variety of spells. This was something that Xiao Chen had taught her in the past. Cheng Menjing also knew about it, but she had forgotten in a hurry. In the past, Cheng Menjing had always been with Xiao Chen. Usually, it was him who was in charge of fighting. She had no experience in this area. It was only when the Xishan Giant Bull mentioned Xiao Chen that Cheng Menjing suddenly remembered these things that she had learned. Feeling vexed, Cheng Menjing hit her head. Her expression was a little gloomy. In the past, she had indeed relied too much on Xiao Chen. There were clearly many things that she could solve by herself, but she had to send Xiao Chen to do them. In the end, she had a body of cultivation and was useless at critical moments. "Aya, my young mistress, if you have this ability, you should have said so earlier." The Xishan giant bull sighed heavily and said helplessly, "Damn it, if I had known that you were so strong, we could have just gone to the Fan family to be worshippers. Why would we still need to do hard labor? What a waste of this month. Do you think I didn't want to say it earlier?" Cheng Menjing snorted and explained seriously, "It was you who said that we can't be too high profile, so I deliberately didn't reveal my strength. This is not the same thing. Is my ability to express myself that bad?" The Xishan giant bull did not know that Cheng Menjing was wary of its intentions. It muttered with a melancholy face, "This is 2F** king bad. Now that we have killed the people of Ji shop, it seems that we can only run away first and make other plans after we go somewhere else. If it wasn't to save your life, I wouldn't have attacked those bodyguards." Now, as Cheng Menjing spoke, she suddenly stopped. Her divine sense sensed a little movement in the distance. She frowned and looked carefully. Forget it, it's all my fault." The Xishan giant bull had no choice but to bear all the responsibility. It was about to continue speaking with a bitter face when it saw Cheng Menjing make a silent gesture to it. "There's a large group of people holding torches coming here," Cheng Menjing said with a solemn face. "The few people leading them have dogs. The one walking at the back is an old man riding a horse. He looks quite powerful, and that butler Gao, huh? What's going on?" Cheng Menjing was confused. In the place where her divine sense could see, Butler Gao had been tied up. He was at the back of the group, out of breath, and his face was as ugly as if his father had died. Chapter 14-15. Who is it? Dog? Butler Gao? Why don't I see anything? Are you hallucinating? Xishan giant cow scratched its head and looked in the direction of Cheng Menjing's gaze with a puzzled expression. Apart from the endless desert and the pitch-black night sky at the border of the horizon in the distance, he didn't see a single ghost. Cheng Menjing ignored it and continued to look in that direction with a serious face. Xishan giant cow was a little puzzled, but not long after, it heard a few barks coming from afar. Looking towards the source of the sound, the Xishan giant bull discovered that there were torches in the distance, as well as a large group of people. Looking from afar, they were all dressed in the same uniform, and they were all very uniform. Xishan giant cow's heart sank. It seemed that its guess was right. This Ju-Yi shop was not that simple. Its background was quite deep. Look, they're catching up. When Cheng Menjing saw that those people had already appeared in front of her, she immediately jumped up and said in a panic, "Did they find a master and come to take revenge on us? Let's run quickly." After saying that, Cheng Menjing was ready to run away. But after taking 2 steps, she looked at the vast desert and was confused again. Which direction should she go? It can't be. If the Ju-Yi shop had bodyguards stronger than the original infant stage, why would they be afraid of you? Xishan giant cow was still at the stage of being shocked by Cheng Menjing's strength. But there are so many of them. As the saying goes, a hero can't fight against so many people. Even if I'm in the original infant stage, I can't deal with so many at once, right? Cheng Menjing scratched her head in distress. A lot of people came? Xishan giant cow thought for a while and felt that the other party shouldn't be here for revenge. It simply waved its hand and took a deep breath. "It's okay, don't be afraid. Let's see what they're up to when they come. Besides, we don't know the way. There's nowhere to run. It's better to wait for them." Cheng Menjing thought about it and felt that it made sense. She nodded and walked back to Xiaofan Giant Bull's side. However, her body was still tense and ready. If those people really wanted to suddenly attack her, she would be able to react immediately and buy some time for her to escape. After those people walked noisily for a while, they finally discovered Cheng Menjing and Xiaofan Giant Ox in the distance, and immediately approached them. When they got closer, the fierce hounds saw the two people and immediately lowered their heads. They stopped barking. Obviously, they were very afraid of the aura emitted by the two people. "Excuse me. Is that Immortal Cheng from the Cultivation Chamber of Commerce?" Cheng Menjing kept encouraging herself in her heart when she heard an old voice coming from the back of the group. Who? Who is it?" Cheng Menjing was startled. She couldn't figure out the meaning of this voice. Did this guy not know her? Following Cheng Menjing's response, the group of people immediately parted to the sides. The old man who had been riding at the back of the horse leapt down from the back of the horse and quickly walked in front of Cheng Menjing. He bowed to her and said respectfully, "This old man is the head of the Fan family, Fan Wuxia. Today, this old man's subordinates have offended the Lady of Immortal. I hope that the Lady of Immortal will be magnanimous and not take it to heart." "Fan family? Fan Wuxia? Which one of your subordinates offended me?" Cheng Menjing was a little puzzled. She turned to look at Xiaofan Giant Yak and found that he was also looking at her with a face full of question marks. Obviously, he also didn't know where the Fan family came from. Xiaofan Giant Yak's brain turned quickly. Speaking of offending, only the housekeeper of the Ju-Yi shop had offended Miss Cheng recently. But what did this have to do with the Fan family? Xiaofan Giant Yak's body trembled slightly when he thought of Cheng Menjing saying that housekeeper Gao seemed to be in this group. Could it be, it's all because this old man didn't say it clearly at the beginning. Fan Wuxiao smiled warmly and said, "Because the Ju-Yi shop is only an insignificant business in the hands of the Fan family. Usually, no one would put the two together, so it's normal that Immortal Cheng doesn't know about it." This Fan Wuxiao was obviously a wily old fox. After all, the Fan family's business was huge, and everyone in Moyao town knew about it. Although Cheng Menjing didn't buy what she said, he still pushed the blame to himself immediately. He didn't mean to look down on her at all. Of course, with Miss Cheng's strength, he didn't dare to have any other thoughts. At this moment, Cheng Menjing finally understood what was going on. It turned out that such a large group of people were here for Butler Gao of the Ji shop. Cheng Menjing recalled that she had sensed with her divine sense that Steward Gao was tied up and dragged at the back of the group. She had a rough idea of what was going on. She asked faintly, "Oh, so you're saying that you're here to avenge the people I killed?" Although she asked this, Cheng Menjing also knew that it was impossible. Not to mention the fact that housekeeper Gao was tied up like a dumpling, she knew that he definitely wouldn't make a move based on the polite words he said when they met. However, Cheng Menjing still didn't understand why they came to apologize. After all, she and Xiaofan Niu had already left Moyao town. If they were only afraid that she would go back for revenge, then there was no need to send so many people to search for her. No, Immortal Cheng, you misunderstood. Those were all servants who didn't know better. Please don't take it to heart. Fan Wuxiao's expression was a little awkward, and he quickly waved his hand to deny it. Then he smiled and said, Actually, this old man came to find you mainly to invite you back to be a guest of our Fan family." Be what? Cheng Menjing thought she heard wrong. Xiaofan Niu just said that with her strength, she could go to the Fan family to be a guest. In the blink of an eye, the head of the Fan family came to invite her? You are so powerful. Of course, you should go back to be a guest. This old man really hopes that the Fan family can have this honor. If we can invite you to take charge, then the strength of our family will go up a level. Fan Wuxiao's expression was sincere, and he said this from the bottom of his heart. But you. Cheng Menjing was a little confused. She had just sent his subordinates flying and killed several of them. Now, not only did Fan Yuqiao not pursue the matter, but he actually wanted to invite her to be a guest. How could there be such a good thing in the world? Could it be a scam? Xiaofan was also in a state of sluggishness at this time. He sighed in his heart that it was really easy to talk to those who were powerful. In the blink of an eye, a crow flew up the branch and became a phoenix. Chapter 14-16. Seeing that Cheng Menjing was silent, Fan Yuqiao suddenly said with a look of realization, "Oh, that's right. Previously, Butler Gao offended you. I've already kidnapped him and prepared to execute him in front of you to vent the hatred in your heart." After that, Fan Yuqiao immediately waved his hand. Two big men brought the tied-up Butler Gao. One of the big men kicked him in the kneecap, causing him to kneel in front of Cheng Menjing. Butler Gao's face was ashen. He thought to himself, "I'm so unlucky. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have told this to the old man named Fan. I would have just taken the spiritual crystals and escaped to another place to have fun. At least I wouldn't have to be tied up and brought here to suffer. It seems that I really can't survive this." Alas! It turned out that after Butler Gao discovered that Cheng Menjing and Xiaofan giant bull had escaped, he immediately went to report to Fan Yuqiao. He thought that he could persuade Fan Yuqiao to gather experts and let him lead a team to chase after these two guys. He didn't expect that Fan Yuqiao would kill the donkey after it was no longer of use. Looking at Butler Gao's dejected look, Xiaofan giant bull was happy. It nodded with satisfaction and said, "Master Fan, a wise man submits to circumstances. You did a good job. This stupid butler has always caused trouble for us. He even beat and scolded the laborers. I've always disliked him. Hurry up and kill him." Hearing the Xiaofan giant bull's vicious threat, Steward Gao was immediately scared stiff. He kept kowtowing to Cheng Menjing as if he was pounding garlic with his head. His mouth was still crying out, "Lady! Lady Cheng, please spare my life." This lowly one indeed had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai and was a little disrespectful to you. I hope that immortal ant can be more beautiful in person and be magnanimous and let me live. I have an 80-year-old mother and children waiting to be fed. At this time, Butler Gao didn't care about anything else. He only hoped that he could survive. Even if he was asked to be a cow or a horse, he would be willing. All right, don't nag those old words from the TV series. I'm tired of it." Cheng Menjing waved her hand impatiently and interrupted Steward Gao's crying begging for mercy. "Miss Cheng is really straightforward." Fan Yuqiao immediately praised him, and then asked, "Then shall we immediately take action and get rid of this insensible fellow?" Seeing the two burly men approaching, Butler Gao immediately collapsed to the ground. He felt a chill run down his spine. "Wait!" Just as the man was about to make his move, Cheng Menjing suddenly shouted and said, "Patriarch Fan, I killed some of your bodyguards before anyway. Why don't we call it even? I'll go back with you to take a look at the situation first, then we can discuss the matter of being consecrated. What do you think? After all, I can't make this decision at once." Seeing that Fan Yuqiao really wanted to kill Steward Gao to please her, Cheng Menjing was convinced that there should be no powerful masters in the Fan family. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come here to invite her back. However, this time, Cheng Menjing also learned to be smart. She didn't immediately agree. She only said that she would go back and take a look. After all, she was still a little wary. She was afraid that the Fan family would play some tricks and sell her out. "Ha ha ha, Fairy Cheng is really broad-minded. I admire you. Then I'll spare his dog life first." Fan Yuqiao was overjoyed and nodded in agreement. Although Cheng Menjing didn't directly agree to be a consecrated master, Fan Yuqiao wasn't worried. He thought that he would invite Fairy Cheng back first and feed her well. Then, he would give her generous conditions. If that didn't work, he would coax and pester her until she accepted. After all, it was too difficult to invite an original infant stage master these days. Fan Yuqiao had secretly made up his mind. No matter how much money he had to pay, he would recruit Fairy Cheng. Well, then let's go back now. If we don't go back now, it'll be dawn soon. Cheng Menjing nodded. She immediately learned from Xiao Chen and assumed the posture of an expert. This time, Cheng Menjing didn't need to walk. Fan Yuqiao personally helped her onto a docile mare. Then, he jumped onto the horse that he had ridden. The two of them chatted as they rode forward. Although the Xishan giant ox did not have a horse to ride on, he still swaggered behind. He felt that he was especially awesome now, especially glorious. He walked with vigor and vigor. The depression of being oppressed a few days ago had been swept away, and the internal injuries he had suffered previously had also healed without any medicine. To the Xishan giant bull, he was the manager of great consecrated Cheng Menjing. At this time, he had already begun to fantasize about how to negotiate with old man Fan about great consecrated Cheng's remuneration. It would be best if he could extort a large sum of money from this old fellow and earn enough spirit crystals. Then, he could leave with Cheng Menjing. However, Cheng Menjing didn't think too much about it. Her purpose in following the Fan family wasn't really to become a consecrated Cheng Menjing, but to think about how she could use the Fan family to help her find Xiao Chen and the others. After all, with just the two of them, they were still lacking when it came to finding people. The Fan family seemed to be quite powerful. If she became a consecrated Cheng Menjing and could get them to help her find people, it would be a good deal. Fan Yuqiao was thinking about how to recruit Fairy Cheng with the most generous remuneration, while Cheng Menjing was thinking about how to find people. The two of them had their own thoughts and chatted casually. They were escorted back to the Fan family's residence by a group of people. Because Cheng Menjing and Fan Yuqiao were both riding horses, they were at the front of the group. As soon as they arrived at the Fan family's residence, they were invited into the house by a large group of servants. Cheng Menjing didn't notice at all that the Xishan giant bull had already fallen far away outside the door. "Stop, what are you doing, you old thing?" The Xishan giant bull was immersed in his own fantasies as he raised his foot to take a step into the Fan family's residence. However, before he could step in, he suddenly heard an angry roar, interrupting his thoughts. The Xishan giant bull blinked, looking a little confused. Who was he scolding? Why did the guard at the door keep looking at him? The guard was still insulting him. "Are you blind? How dare you come to the Fan family to beg? Get out of here. Why don't you open your dog eyes and take a look? Is this a place where an old thing like you can come?" At first, the Xishan giant bull thought that there was a beggar behind him who wanted to take the opportunity to sneak into the Fan family to eat and drink. When he turned his head, he found that there was no one behind him. This guard. Was he referring to himself? Chapter 14-17. What are you looking at? I'm talking to you. Are you still playing dumb? The Xishan giant bull turned its head around and saw the guard glaring at it. When it heard the guard's angry roar, it realized that the guard thought it was a beggar. The bull was enraged. Its eyeballs were about to bleed. It pointed at the guard and cursed, "You're the one who's King blind. Am I a beggar? I'm Miss Cheng's manager. How dare you curse at me? Do you believe that I won't have Miss Cheng kill you in minutes, you little bastard? What golden pheasant or golden duck? I don't care who you are. Unrelated people, get out of here. Can't you see that the Fan family is holding a banquet for distinguished guests?" The guard roared impatiently. Then, he reached out and shoved the Xishan giant ox, intending to drive it out. "Motherf ***, why can that Miss Cheng in front go in, but I can't?" The bull bristled and stomped its feet in anger. However, it didn't dare to attack the Fan family guard. What if the guard accidentally hurt it because of its recklessness? Aren't you King spouting nonsense? She's a guest invited by the old master. She's honored, so of course she can go in. And who are you? You have the nerve to mingle here. The guard snorted heavily through his nose. He looked up and down at the West Mountain giant bull, who was dressed in rags, and sneered. I'm a guest for her grandfather. Xiaofan giant ox immediately patted its chest and proudly introduced itself. Then, it stared back at the guard without showing any sign of weakness. Are you King kidding me? The guard's expression immediately darkened. He glared at the bull and said, How dare you speak so viciously and disrespect the guest of the Fan family? Do you not want to live? I really am her grandfather. If you don't believe me, find her and ask her. Didn't she just go in? Don't waste my time. Hurry up and report. The bull saw that the guard thought it was cursing and became anxious. It stamped its feet and pointed at the door. The guard was stunned at first. Seeing that the Xiaofan giant bull seemed to really think of him as the man's grandfather, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. He used his finger to poke the man's shoulder and said sarcastically, With your virtue, you still want to be the man's grandfather? Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror? You only know how to chase up the good things. She doesn't have a relative like you. I even want to be her grandson, but she didn't agree. Okay, hurry up and get out. Don't keep thinking about taking advantage or else I won't be polite to you. He had held back from making a move, but he ended up being mocked by the guard. West Mountain Junyo's heart immediately flared up as he roared, F***K, try touching me if you dare. Believe it, I. Before the Western Mountain giant ox finished speaking, it saw the guard's leg flying over and kicking heavily. Fortunately, the guard didn't use any essence force, and the Western Mountain giant ox hurriedly dodged. If I touch you, what can you do? It's already the middle of the night. I've already beaten a few beggars like you to death today. If you have the guts, don't hide. I'll kick you to death. The guard didn't hit the bull and staggered. He immediately became angry. He turned around and rushed over again, wanting to give the bull a taste of pain. Xiaofan giant bull finally couldn't bear it anymore. He swung his arm and slapped the guard to the ground. Then, he fiercely stepped on his head and said condescendingly, Brat, didn't you want to kick me to death? Then kick me. Why aren't you showing off anymore? The other guard at the door was originally watching the show lazily, but when he saw the sudden change in the situation, he couldn't help but jump in fright. When he discovered that the unkempt beggar was actually a cultivator, he immediately ran into the mansion. Someone come quickly. The beggar is hitting someone. Someone catch him. The guard shouted as he ran, preparing to gather everyone together to deal with the giant ox of the West Mountain together. The noise in the front hall finally attracted people's attention. Cheng Menjing turned around and found that there seemed to be someone missing behind her. Seeing that the guards were all noisily walking out with weapons in their hands, she had a bad feeling in her heart and quickly ran out with the guards. Fan Yuqiao didn't know what was going on, so he could only follow Cheng Menjing out step by step. As soon as she walked out of the door, Cheng Menjing noticed that the Xiaofan giant bull was stepping on a guard with an arrogant look on its face. It was surrounded by guards with weapons in their hands, glaring at it fiercely. The two sides were in a standoff. Seeing this, Cheng Menjing couldn't help but feel a headache. She hurriedly separated the guards and walked over. She pulled the bull's clothes and asked in a low voice, "What are you doing here? Why are you fighting with the guards? I've been looking for you for a long time. Stop it. It wasn't easy for us to rely on the big tree that is the Fan family. I haven't earned anything yet. Don't embarrass me. Look at what you're saying. What does it have to do with me? It's clear that this kid is a snob. I told him that I'm your grandfather and asked him to let me in, but he didn't believe me. Not only did he not believe me, he even boasted shamelessly that he wanted to be your grandson. I specially taught him a lesson for you, but you didn't ask clearly and blamed me the moment you came. The bull loosened its leg and pointed at the guard lying on the ground. So you're Fairy Cheng's grandfather. Fan Yuqiao was very shocked. When he was welcoming Fairy Cheng, he had actually seen the Xishan giant ox. However, he thought that it was just Fairy Cheng's servant, so he didn't take it to heart. He didn't expect it to be her grandfather. This Fairy Cheng was already an expert at the nascent soul stage. As her grandfather, wouldn't he be even more amazing? In the end, his own guard stopped him at the door and even said those disrespectful words. Thinking of this, Fan Yuqiao broke out in a cold sweat. He immediately lifted his leg and kicked the guard on the ground. He scolded loudly, "You blind thing, you actually dare to offend the immortal ant's grandfather. Someone come. Take him away and serve him with torture. Then, we'll expel him from the Fan family and let him fend for himself. Family master, please spare me. I really didn't know that this immortal was Fairy Cheng's grandfather. Please have mercy, Fairy Cheng, have mercy." The guard was so scared that he almost peed his pants. He rolled from lying on the ground to kowtowing and begging for mercy. At this time, the guard's heart was on the verge of collapsing. He didn't expect that this old beggar was really Fairy Cheng's grandfather. Then don't walk at the back. What's wrong with inspecting the people? Anyone would think that he was here to provoke them if he dressed like this and said that he was someone else's grandfather, right? Chapter 14:18. Cheng Menjing waved her hand and stopped Fan Yuqiao's order. She said calmly, "Forget it, Patriarch Fan." He was only thinking about the safety of the Fan family. He didn't do it on purpose. There's no need to torture him. Besides, it's not right for my grandfather to beat someone up. Since we've already made things clear, let's just forget about it. Besides, it's the middle of the night. Let's not disturb the people at the door. Let's go inside and talk business. After all, both sides were at fault. Furthermore, Cheng Menjing couldn't bear to see the guard punished. It was better for both sides to take a step back. If she made things difficult for someone else the moment she arrived, then she wouldn't be comfortable as a guest. Yes. Lady Immortal is indeed magnanimous. Let's do as Lady Immortal says. Fan Yuqiao quickly nodded and turned around. He scolded the guard with a dark expression, "If it weren't for Lady Immortal pleading on your behalf, you'd be a dead man by now. Hurry up and thank Lady Immortal for her kindness and get out of here." "Thank you Lady Immortal for sparing my life. I'll get out now." The guard hurriedly kowtowed a few times, then stood up and scrambled away. In his heart, he felt lucky. Fortunately, this Lady Immortal had a soft heart. He was lucky that he didn't lose his life today. Looking at the retreating back of the guard, the Xishan giant ox snorted lightly. Although it was still a little unhappy, it couldn't be bothered to argue. After all, it had already taught that kid a lesson. Moreover, its purpose in coming to the Fan family was to use them to find Xiao Chen and the others. It could also earn some money along the way. Everything else didn't matter. "Two esteemed guests, please don't let the servants affect your mood. Please come in. I've already prepared the food and wine. Let's talk while we eat." Fan Yuqiao smiled and made an inviting gesture. After welcoming Cheng Menjing and the Xishan giant ox into the manor, he carefully followed them. Cheng Menjing and Xishan giant bull had been running since the afternoon. Because they left in a hurry, they didn't have time to bring their food and clothes. Fortunately, Fan Yuqiao had already sent someone to bring their luggage over and placed it in the room. It was already late at night, and Cheng Menjing and Fan Yuqiao's stomachs were already rumbling with hunger. They did not stand on ceremony with Fan Yuqiao, and directly sat down at the table and began to eat heartily. Fan Yuqiao was also very patient. He did not directly mention the business, but enthusiastically introduced the dishes, and then constantly poured wine for the two of them. He did not put on any airs as a family head. After 3 rounds of wine and 5 different dishes, Fan Yuqiao saw that Cheng Menjing and the Xishan giant bull were almost full. Only then did he ask the servants to remove the leftovers and replace them with some sliced fruits. He also brewed 2 cups of good tea and sat down with a face full of smiles. "I'm really sorry, it's already so late. I should have let the two of you rest first, and we can talk tomorrow." After sitting down, Fan Yuqiao picked up the tea and took a sip. Then he said with a face full of smiles, "It's just that this old man's heart is on fire, and I can't wait any longer. So I shamelessly asked the two of you to stay and chat. I wonder if the two of you mind?" "It's fine." Cheng Menjing shook her head and said with a smile, "After eating the Fan family's meal, it's only right for me to chat with the family head. Besides, I did eat a bit too much just now. Chatting for a while can help with digestion." "Ha ha ha, Fairy Cheng is really humorous." Fan Yuqiao very cooperatively laughed a few times, and then with a face full of curiosity and reverence, he asked, "Fairy Cheng, great hero Xishan, if I may be so bold as to ask, which sect are the two of you from? Why have you come to Moyao Town?" Fan Yuqiao's plan was to first understand the origins of the two masters in front of him, and then think about how much he should pay to hire them. "Well..." Cheng Menjing stammered for a while, thinking about how to answer without exposing herself. Seeing that she was at a loss for words, Xishan Giant Bull said, "Family head Fan, there are some things you shouldn't ask. Since you want to invite us to be the Fan family's offerings, then just name a price. As for the rest, it's useless even if you know." "Huh, great hero Xishan is indeed a straightforward person. I admire people like you." Fan Yuqiao laughed heartily and nodded in understanding. Fan Yuqiao also understood the rules of the immortal cultivation world. Some powerful immortals didn't like to reveal their identities. His question was indeed a bit rash. He was afraid that Fairy Cheng would be angry, so he quickly continued, "It's actually very simple. Our offerings here only need to kill a horse bandit and get 50 spirit crystals. If we kill the leader of the horse bandits, naturally there will be other rewards." "That's it?" "I heard that those low-level retainers invited by Patriarch Fan also seem to be paid according to their work." Xishan Giant Bull knocked on the table and said indifferently, "But you also know my granddaughter's standard. For her, 50 spirit crystals for a horse bandit is a bit low, isn't it?" Xishan Giant Bull knew very well that if they didn't negotiate the price beforehand, then there would definitely be trouble in the future. It was better to lay everything out from the beginning, break it up, and explain it clearly. "No, no, no. The two of you are masters. Of course, I won't treat you the same as those offerings. Wouldn't that be treating you unfairly?" Fan Yuqiao quickly denied it. He even stole a glance at Cheng Menjing and found that she was expressionless. He felt a bit uneasy. We aren't interested in the payment of those low-level offerings. Family head Fan, why don't you just state a price? If we work together, we'll succeed. If we don't, we'll part ways. There's nothing much to say." Xishan Giant Bull laughed in his heart, but he still maintained a cold expression. Fan Yuqiao wiped his sweat, gritted his teeth, and said, "It's like this. Every month, I can give each of you 1,000 spirit crystals as a salary. As long as you are willing to help escort the goods and successfully reach the destination, I will give you a reward of 50 spirit crystals for each horse bandit, regardless of whether you killed the horse bandits or not. If you can kill the leader of the horse bandits, you will be heavily rewarded." "And, that's more like it." Xishan Giant Bull smiled with satisfaction. He then turned to Qing Menjing and said, "Granddaughter, what do you think of this price? Although with your strength, these spirit crystals are nothing, since family head Fan is so sincere, why don't you consider his suggestion?" Xishan Giant Bull wasn't a fool. It was all thanks to Qing Menjing that Fan Yuqiao was able to give him such a generous salary. He was at most a buy one get one free gift, so he naturally had to ask for her opinion. "What? I have to escort the goods for you? Don't offerings only need to stay in the Fan family?" Qing Menjing's expression was a bit puzzled. Chapter 14-19. Originally, Qing Menjing's plan was to have more free time after becoming a guest. Then, she could inquire about the whereabouts of Xiao Chen and the others. She did not expect that she would still have to run around, so she was a little unhappy. "Hee, Fairy Cheng, you don't have to worry. In fact, you don't have to participate in escort missions often. You only need to do it once. Some time ago, I had a half-baked plan that might be able to catch all the horse bandits in one fell swoop. It's like this." Fan Yuqiao pondered for a moment, then revealed his entire idea. In Fan Yuqiao's plan, Qing Menjing and Xishan Giant Bull could help deliver the goods once. Before the delivery, they would spread the news that the goods that the Fan family was delivering were very valuable, large in quantity, and extremely valuable. Fan Yuqiao hoped to rely on this rumor to attract all the horse bandits hidden in the desert to rob them. If the leader of the horse bandits could also come, that would be the best. He could use these two high-level immortal cultivators to catch all the horse bandits in one fell swoop and get rid of all of them so as to eliminate any future troubles. "Hee, Patriarch Fan, you really have a good plan. Do you think that as long as you can get rid of the horse bandits in one fell swoop, then you won't need to spend a huge sum of money every month to support us?" After hearing Fan Yuqiao's plan, Xishan Giant Bull sneered and said mockingly. Although the Fan family was well off and had strong capital, just supporting Xishan Giant Bull and Qing Menjing cost a lot of spirit crystals. As time went on, it would definitely harm them. If they could get rid of all the horse bandits in one fell swoop, then the Fan family would have nothing to worry about. In the future, Fan Yuqiao could use saving money as an excuse to fire the two people who no longer had any value. It could be said to be killing two birds with one stone. No, Xishan Great Hero, you are wrong." Fan Yuqiao waved his hands repeatedly and said with a sincere face, "You really think too highly of me. It is rare for our Fan family to welcome two immortals. It can be said that we are blessed for 3 lifetimes and honored by your presence. I can't wait to keep the immortals here forever. I am just afraid that the immortals will think that our Fan family is too small and leave at any time. Then why are you so anxious for us to deal with the mounted bandits? Aren't you urging us to finish our business so that you can think of a way to drive us away?" Xishan Giant Bull snorted and looked at Fan Yuqiao in disbelief. "Sigh, there's something you don't know." Fan Yuqiao let out a long sigh, and a worried look appeared on his face. "Our Fan family has always been in the business of mass production and sale of artifacts. Moyao Town is such a small place, and the business is ordinary. Most of our income comes from transporting the artifacts to Ba Immortal Town and selling them to earn back the cost." "Ba Immortal Town? Do you mean the central town of the entire Ba Xian prefecture?" Qing Menjing raised her eyebrows and asked curiously. "That's right. As you can see, our Fan family has some influence in the town. It is all because of this source of income that we have been able to develop." Fan Yuqiao honestly said, "But ever since the horse bandits, the road to Ba Immortal Town has been hard to travel. Not to mention being robbed, sometimes even the road is blocked. Those horse bandits are so rampant. Is there no one who can control them?" Xishan Giant Bull frowned and asked. "Sigh. The place where they stay is a place where no one can supervise, but it is the only way for us to go to Ba Immortal Town. In the past, the Fan family could try their luck to go there a few times. This time, no one could go there. They were all robbed. Fan Yuqiao shook his head and smiled helplessly. It's not that I want to trouble you two immortals, but if we don't solve those horse bandits, the Fan family will really be finished. When Xiaofan Giant Bull heard this, it immediately crossed its legs. This was an urgent matter. If it didn't take advantage of the guests now, when would it be? If that's the case, then the reward. Xiaofan Giant Bull had just said half of its words when it was interrupted by Cheng Menjing. No problem, I agree to your conditions. Cheng Menjing didn't have a special need for spirit crystals. As long as it could be used for her daily expenses, she didn't want to continue bargaining. She was worried about another matter. Xiaofan Giant Bull was slightly taken aback. He wanted to take this opportunity to extort Fan Yuqiao again, but Cheng Menjing agreed directly. Xiaofan Giant Bull opened its mouth, but in the end, it didn't say anything. Who asked its strength to be not as high as Cheng Menjing? With strength, you have the right to speak. Now, it had become a small follower. Great! Fan Yuqiao was overjoyed. He was about to thank her from the bottom of his heart, but Cheng Menjing waved her hand and interrupted him. She said, but in addition, I also have a small request. I hope that Master Fan can help us solve it with your best ability. If you don't agree, then we can only find someone else. Fairy Cheng, please say it. As long as I can do it, I will do my best. At this time, Fan Yuqiao could see that although Xiaofan Giant Bull was Fairy Cheng's grandfather, he didn't have the power to make decisions. At critical moments, it was still Fairy Cheng who had the final say. To put it bluntly, it's very simple. On my way to Moyao Town, I was accidentally separated from a few of my companions. I want to borrow the power of the Fan family in Moyao Town to help me inquire about their whereabouts. Cheng Menjing finally revealed the most important purpose of her trip. Oh, I thought it was a big deal. So it's just to help Fairy Cheng find a few people. That's too simple. Fan Yuqiao secretly breathed a sigh of relief. At first, he thought that Fairy Cheng, with her heavenly beauty, would make a request that he couldn't fulfill. He was on tenterhooks, but now, he was finally relieved. Well, that's good. Cheng Menjing nodded with satisfaction. She pondered for a moment and added, after I meet up with them, when the time comes, I am willing to pay the same price and invite all of Fairy Cheng's friends to be the Cheng family's worshippers. Fan Yuqiao said excitedly. Also, you and your friends don't need to do anything. Just do your own things. From Fan Yuqiao's point of view, people who could become Fairy Cheng's friends were definitely not weak. If he could invite all of them back, then he wouldn't just be a tyrant in Moyao Town. He could even expand his power in Ba Immortal Town. What I mean is, after I find them, we will leave Moyao Town and go to other places. We won't continue to stay and waste Master Fan's spirit crystals. Cheng Menjing shook her head. Chapter 1420. Glancing at Fan Yuqiao, Cheng Menjing asked faintly, Are you unwilling to help me find my friends because of what I said? Hee, look at what you're saying. How can I, Fan Yuqiao, be such a person? Since Fairy Cheng and your friends have their own matters to attend to, the Fan family naturally won't force them. Fan Yuqiao laughed awkwardly and changed the topic to finding people. How about this, Fairy Cheng, I'll have to trouble you to provide me with the names and appearances of your friends. I promise I'll be able to find them all. Okay, one of the leading men is called Xiao Chang, or Xiao Chen. He's about the same age as me, and his appearance is passable. The other one. Cheng Menjing nodded and described Xiao Chen and the other's appearance in detail. She felt a little strange. Why did I say Xiao Chang's name first? Could it be because I used an alias, so I thought that Xiao Chen would do the same? Humph, that arrogant bastard is definitely not as smart as me. He will directly say his name when he meets someone. Fan Yuqiao ordered his servants to bring pen and paper. He recorded all the information Cheng Menjing said in detail. Then, he ordered his subordinates to immediately search Moyao Town and Baxian County. He must report back from time to time. After sending out the order, Fan Yuqiao smiled and said to Cheng Menjing, "Fairy Cheng, don't worry. Although our Fan family is not a famous family, we are still a little famous in Moyao Town and Baxian County. We can barely be called a tyrant. As long as someone gets lost in our area, we can basically find them for you." "That's good. Then, I'll wait for the good news from Master Fan." Seeing that everything was on track, Cheng Menjing finally showed a sincere smile on her face. The smile on Fan Yuqiao's face became even wider. He said with a face full of happiness, "Both of you must be tired after running around for a whole day, right? I have already asked my men to prepare 2 rooms for you. Please go and have a rest first. As for the escort plan I mentioned just now, this old man will make the preliminary preparations first. I will inform the 2 of you when it is completed." Cheng Menjing and Xishan Giant Bull did not refuse anymore. They went straight to their own rooms and took a comfortable hot bath, sweeping away all the fatigue from the hard work of the past month. Then, they fell into a deep sleep. It was a silent night. A few days later, Fan Yuqiao sent someone to invite Cheng Menjing and Xishan Giant Bull for a talk. He said that he had already released the news and needed to trouble the 2 of them to immediately prepare to escort a batch of valuable goods to Baxian County and sound out the movements of the horse gang on the way. Cheng Menjing and Xishan Giant Bull naturally had no objections. They agreed immediately, then packed up and followed the team. At first, the 2 of them thought that Fan Yuqiao was so cautious that he would definitely use some empty boxes as bait. However, when they came to the team and confirmed the goods to be escorted, they found that the boxes were filled with natural treasures and some very valuable treasures. Both of them were a little surprised. Xishan Giant Bull was even more shocked in his heart. It seemed that Fan Yuqiao must have been harassed by the horse gang before. It was not easy for him to have Cheng Menjing, a master of the nascent soul stage, to take charge. So this time, he was ready to go all out. Fan Yuqiao equipped both Cheng Menjing and Xishan Giant Bull with horses, so the 2 of them were riding side by side in front of the team. On the way, Xishan Giant Bull found that Cheng Menjing often made some strange gestures and made a few awkward dodging movements from time to time. It was a little surprised. Seeing Cheng Menjing began to make gestures again, Xishan Giant Bull simply asked, "My lady Cheng, what are you doing? Is there anything wrong with your body? Why don't I stop the team first and let us rest for a while before leaving?" "Shoo. Keep your voice down." Cheng Menjing was shocked. She quickly put her index finger on her lips and quietly looked around. "What? What's going on? Why can't I speak?" Xishan Jinyunyu looked at Cheng Menjing's appearance and was a little confused as it muttered inexplicably. Cheng Menjing observed for a while and felt that she did not attract the attention of others. Then she whispered, "I am practicing how to fight with others and how to avoid the opponent's martial arts. Xiaofan taught me a few times in the past, but it's been too long since I used it. I seem to have forgotten." You? Are you kidding me? As a master of the nascent soul stage, you don't even know how to fight?" Xishan Giant Bull was dumbfounded and asked in disbelief, "Did you not practice the corresponding martial arts when you were learning the mental cultivation method before?" "I told you, Xiaofan taught me a few moves, but I forgot." Cheng Menjing's face was a little red, and she said very confidently, "This." Xishan Giant Bull was speechless for a while. Suddenly, he thought of something and asked doubtfully, "The move that you used to kill the bodyguards of the Fan family, did you learn it from me?" "Nonsense. If I didn't learn it on the spot, how could we get so many benefits? I would have been killed by that B***tch Gao long ago." Cheng Menjing nodded as if it was a matter of course. "What the F***ck? You're too bold." Xiaofan Giant Bull's eyes almost popped out. At that time, he vaguely felt that Cheng Menjing's moves were very familiar, but he didn't look carefully in a hurry. He thought it was purely a coincidence. He didn't expect this girl to be so smart and directly use the martial arts of the evil cultivator to deal with the enemy. At this time, Xiaofan Giant Bull could only secretly rejoice. Fortunately, his luck was good and nothing went wrong. Otherwise, the two of them would have been killed long ago, and there wouldn't be these things later. Don't admire me too much, I'm so smart. Speaking of this, Cheng Menjing suddenly rolled her eyes, held her chin and said, "Oh yes. Anyway, I've already learned it once last time. Why don't you teach me a few more moves? I can't use the same move every time. It's easy for others to see through my flaws." "I say, madam, don't make such a joke." Xiaofan Giant Bull was shocked and quickly waved his hand to refuse. "Why are you so stingy?" Cheng Menjing curled her lips and said, "I'm just learning a few moves from you. It's your honor that I want to learn. What does this have to do with being stingy?" Xiaofan Giant Bull rolled his eyes and patiently explained, "I'm an evil cultivator, and you're an evil cultivator. The corresponding martial arts of the two kinds of mental cultivation methods are not interchangeable. Even the way of qi circulation is very different. You were lucky to be able to successfully use your palm the last time. Remember, don't learn martial arts randomly in the future, or it's easy to be possessed by the devil." Chapter 14:21. "Oh, it's not that exaggerated. Didn't I learn it by myself before?" Cheng Menjing pulled Xiaofan Giant Bull and said, "Just show me a few moves. At most, I will use my own mental cultivation method to perform it. Anyway, there was no problem last time, and there will be no problem this time. You don't have to worry so much." Although Cheng Menjing's strength was superior, she was still a little lacking in confidence. She felt that her moves were too monotonous, but she couldn't think of other martial arts techniques for a while, so she could only use what was available. Okay then. Xiaofan Giant Bull was pestered by Cheng Menjing, so he had no choice but to agree. He cautiously said, "But you must be careful. If you really can't do it, don't force yourself. Stop practicing immediately. Otherwise, if something goes wrong, even I can't save you." I know. Why are you more talkative than my grandfather? Hurry up." Cheng Menjing glared at him and urged him impatiently. Xiaofan Giant Bull was speechless, so he had to go straight to the point and began to teach her some evil martial arts techniques. In order to prevent Cheng Menjing from accidentally going crazy, he only chose some relatively basic martial arts techniques to teach at first and let her learn them step by step. The journey to Baxian County took several days. During the day, the two traveled with the large group. At night, when they were stationed, one taught and the other learned, so it did not hinder the journey. In the following days, Cheng Menjing was immersed in the fun of trial every day. She didn't know if it was because of the mental cultivation method or because she was smarter, but Cheng Menjing was very receptive to the various martial arts techniques taught by Xiaofan Giant Bull. As long as she repeatedly urged it a few times and experienced the movement of the primordial qi in her body, she could basically master this martial arts technique. After practicing a few more times, Cheng Menjing found that her moves became smoother and more powerful. Gradually, the beginner martial skills could no longer satisfy her. Cheng Menjing simply went to the giant ox of the western mountain and asked to learn some higher-level martial skills. At first, West Mountain Giant Bull didn't agree, but it couldn't resist Cheng Menjing's threats and temptations, so it had no choice but to teach her a few more moves. When she was training, it stood by the side and carefully protected her, ensuring that she wouldn't be in any danger. After a few days, Cheng Menjing and the others gradually approached Baxian Prefecture. On this day, the whole team was resting at the foot of the mountain when the scout ahead came back with a report. Reporting to Fairy Cheng, after we pass through the valley in front, we'll be able to reach Wuxia County in a day's time. Alright. Have you found any traces of mounted bandits in front? Cheng Menjing nodded and looked around at the steep cliffs around her. Although she felt that this place didn't seem to be suitable for an ambush, she released her divine sense to be cautious and prepared to check the surrounding situation. Not for the time being. Maybe the mounted bandits know that you are escorting them, so. Before the scout finished flattering her, a loud boom suddenly came from the valley. Accompanied by the loud noise, the cliffs on both sides of the valley exploded violently. Many boulders mixed with tree trunks rolled down from the mountain, smashing into a cloud of smoke and directly blocking the way forward of the team. Everyone was shocked and subconsciously looked for a place to hide. At this time, Cheng Menjing had also used her divine sense to see the mounted bandits lying in ambush on the mountain. At this moment, they were rushing to the foot of the mountain aggressively. Everyone, be careful. The mounted bandits are coming. Cheng Menjing shouted in a deep voice. In her divine sense, she could see that there were at least 100 people on the other side. Except for the leader of the mounted bandits who didn't wear a mask, the others were all dressed in black and their faces were covered with thick black cloth. They revealed a pair of murderous eyes and rushed toward the crowd. As soon as Cheng Menjing's voice fell, the group of mounted bandits appeared in everyone's sight. They only stopped when they were only a few dozen feet away. Ha 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 ha. The old thing of the Fan family is really not afraid of losing money. After suffering so many losses, he still dares to send people to Wuxia County to transport goods. The leader of the mounted bandits had a fierce face, and a scar extended from his left eye to his right ear. He looked a little ferocious. At this time, when he saw the large boxes of goods in the transportation team, he couldn't help but laugh proudly. Cheng Menjing and Xiaofan Giant Bull didn't have time to pay attention to him. They first went to check the condition of the other accompanying people. After confirming that everyone was just frightened and not injured, they got into position to confront the scar-faced man. The scar-faced leader swept his gaze over everyone present as if he was looking at ants. Finally, his gaze stopped on Cheng Menjing, who was at the very front. When he saw her pure and peerlessly beautiful appearance, a look of greed instantly surged in his eyes. Cheng Menjing frowned slightly. She felt very uncomfortable with the scar-faced man's wolf-like eyes. However, she didn't rush to make a move. Instead, she and Xiaofan Giant Bull were on guard, planning to observe the opponent's strength first. The scar-faced man's wretched eyes wandered back and forth on Cheng Menjing's body. He stuck out his tongue and licked his upper lip. With an evil smile, he said, "Hee hee, I didn't expect old man Fan to be so tactful. He knows that I've been cooped up here for a few days and really can't bear the loneliness, so he specially sent me such a beautiful girl. It looks like I didn't come here for nothing. Not only can I make a fortune, I can also have some fun with this beauty. It's a perfect win-win situation." Impudent. Don't talk nonsense. Immortal Cheng is a super expert invited by the Fan family. How can you bandits disrespect her? Hearing the scar-faced man's unbridled flirting, Xiaofan Giant Bull immediately rebuked him coldly. However, rebuking was one thing, but Xiaofan Giant Bull still wisely stood behind Cheng Menjing. After all, he only had the strength of a foundation establishment cultivator. If he really went up against such a large group of bandits, not even dregs would be left of him. Therefore, he only dared to say it. Even if he had 3 times the courage, he still wouldn't dare to directly attack. Oh. So it's an immortal. The scar-faced man's eyes immediately lit up. He rubbed his hands together and said excitedly, "I've played with all kinds of women in my life, but I've never tasted an immortal. Immortal, why don't we find a secluded place, strip naked, and have 300 rounds of sex? What do you think? Dirty. Filthy. You're simply a shameless, lowly bastard." Cheng Menjing's eyebrows immediately furrowed as she angrily cursed. Just as she took a step forward, an idea flashed through Cheng Menjing's mind. She turned around and commanded Xiaofan, Giant Bull, I really want to slap that fly to death, but I'm afraid his strength is higher than mine. Why don't you go first and spar with him for me? Let's see how strong that bastard is. Chapter 1422. Xiaofan Giant Ox immediately broke out in a cold sweat when it heard this. Its face fell and it said, Great Aunt Cheng, I'm only at the foundation establishment stage. There's a huge gap between us. I'm more like bullying those qi refinement stage cultivators. Besides, if he doesn't make a move, I can't see his strength. What if he's stronger than me when he comes out? Wouldn't I be courting death? Then what should I do? Cheng Menjing pouted gloomily. However, before she could make a decision, the other party couldn't hold it in anymore. Since Madam Cheng doesn't want to come, I'll have to go and find you myself, ha ha ha. The scar-faced man obviously couldn't wait any longer. Driven by lust, he immediately took out his own magical weapon and revealed his cultivation of Golden Core Stage Level 5. The corners of his mouth curled into a lewd smile as he flew towards Cheng Menjing. The scar-faced man's magic weapon was a flag with a wooden handle. There was a strange pattern on the flag. As he rushed over, he threw the flag and the wooden handle was stabbed into the soil. As soon as the flag landed on the ground, the scar-faced man immediately started chanting. A dark purple light suddenly spread out from the flag. Before Cheng Menjing and Xiaofan Giant Ox could react, they were already enveloped by the light. Damn! What the hell is this? The Xiaofan Giant Ox was shocked by the purple light and immediately realized that something was wrong. It couldn't help but exclaim, Damn, I've actually been demoted to the Qi Refinement Stage Level 7. This beam of light is so freaking creepy. After realizing that the flag was strange, the Xiaofan Giant Ox immediately retreated. As it retreated, it reminded Cheng Menjing, Madam Cheng, let's quickly leave the range of the purple light. If you get demoted, you'll be in trouble. Cheng Menjing did not have enough battle experience. At first, she was slightly stunned. After hearing Xiaofan Giant Bull's words, she did not care about anything else and immediately prepared to retreat. Unexpectedly, Scar-Face's figure flashed and quickly cut off her path. Scar-Face directly ignored the retreating Xiaofan Giant Bull and stared at Cheng Menjing with a lewd expression. He reached out his hand towards her chest and muttered, Little fairy, don't be in such a hurry to leave. Come, let me have a taste of my hands first. Since you can't go back today, you might as well lie down and accept your fate. Hee. Shameless. Vulgar. Pervert. Cheng Menjing snorted softly. She lightly stepped on the ground with the tip of her foot and her body floated to the left, nimbly dodging Scarface's perverted hand. After landing on the ground, Cheng Menjing immediately activated her technique and checked her condition. Her serious expression suddenly turned into one of surprise. She blurted out, Giant Bull, I don't think I'm affected. I'm still at the original infant stage. What's going on? Ha, little fairy is indeed too naive. Scar-Face approached Cheng Menjing and laughed weirdly. Although my magical equipment does not have any offensive capabilities, anyone who is affected by its light will have their cultivation lowered. Naturally, you are only at the original infant stage. What? You're a original infant stage expert? Scar-Face, who was about to reach Cheng Menjing, suddenly staggered and stopped in his tracks. He barely managed to maintain his balance and looked at Cheng Menjing in disbelief. His expression was a little distorted. Yes, but it's too late for you to realize it. Go and die, you perverted shameless bastard. Cheng Menjing shouted and activated the Yuan Qi in her body to cover her right palm. Her figure flashed and in a blink of an eye, she appeared behind Scar-Face and pushed her right palm forward. dark devour. Scarface only felt his vision blur, and then his entire body felt like it had been thrown into an ice cave. All the hairs on his body stood up. Without waiting for Scarface to react, a light young girl's voice suddenly rang out from behind him, carrying a faint coldness. Following that, a wave of vicious strength chi followed closely, smashing heavily onto his back. Boom! Just as the thought of dodging arose, Scarface was sent flying into the air by Cheng Menjing's palm strike. The last thing Scarface felt in this world was as if his internal organs had been smashed into pieces by a fist. Flying through the air, he spat out a mouthful of blood mixed with his shattered internal organs. Then, he fell heavily onto the ground. His eyes rolled back and he stopped breathing, becoming a corpse. The mounted gangsters who had been cheering loudly at the back were instantly silenced. The echoes of their cheers still lingered in the air above the valley. The mounted gangsters were so frightened that they could not close their mouths. Their faces were pale as they looked at each other. They had no idea what had just happened. Originally, they had thought that they would be able to smoothly snatch the goods. If they could please their leader, he might even reward them with something good. They did not expect that in the blink of an eye, the originally arrogant and despotic Scarface would be beaten to death by a weak young girl. Many people saw the scene of Scarface's tragic death and could not help but feel timid. Their footsteps gradually moved back, quietly thinking of escaping. Brothers! Don't be afraid. No matter how powerful that stinking girl is, she may not be able to defeat so many of us. Someone in the crowd shouted first, stopping the retreating footsteps of the crowd. The mounted gangsters thought that it was right. No matter how powerful that girl was, she was only one person. They had over 100 people. Even if they relied on pressure, they could crush her to death. What was there to be afraid of? Everyone, let's attack together. Let's kill that girl first, then steal the Fan family's goods. Yes, that whore killed Big Brother. We have to avenge Big Brother. Let's rape her first, then kill her, then rape her again. Attack. Kill those bastards from the Fan family and make them regret appearing here. Let's take all their things for ourselves. Thinking up to this point, the rest of the mounted gangsters seemed to have been injected with chicken blood. They roared fervently. The mounted gangsters who were walking in front were the first to pounce on Cheng Menjing and the others. Their eyes were bloodshot and they all looked as if they were ready to fight to the death. West Mountain Giant Bull, let's hurry up and run. There's no way I can defeat so many people. Seeing over 100 mounted gangsters holding various magical weapons and surging forward with ferocious expressions, Cheng Menjing was so frightened that her legs turned to jelly. She stuttered as she shouted to the West Mountain Giant Bull who had caught up again. Cheng Menjing felt that she might have gotten herself into big trouble this time. Just because she killed a shameless person, she actually attracted so many people. How could she possibly defeat them? It was better to hurry and escape with the West Mountain Giant Bull. Stop, stop, stop. Don't be so flustered all the time. Those are just Chi Condensation and Foundation Establishment stage horse bandits. To you, they're just weak chickens. What's there to be afraid of? The Xishan giant ox didn't mind too much and waved its hand. Chapter 1423. Even if there were a few hundred more of them, they wouldn't be your opponents. You can kill them easily. Although the bull said so, it was obviously more interested in something else. It ran to a place not far away and casually pulled out the flag that the scarred man had inserted into the ground. It rubbed it up and down admiringly. In fact, ever since this guy entered the immortal cultivation world, he had always wanted to get himself a magical artifact. After staying in the Ji shop for so long, he was very interested in high-end magical artifacts. Since there was a ready-made one, of course, the bull wouldn't miss it. But speaking of which, the function of this flag was to lower the enemy's cultivation. For the bull, it was indeed very suitable. After all, he was only at the first level of the foundation establishment stage. With this treasure in his hands, it was like adding wings to a tiger. Although this magical artifact was ineffective against cultivators who were much higher than him, the situation just now was very obvious. Cheng Menjing, who was much stronger than the scarred man at the 5th level of the golden core stage, was not hit by the ray of light. But for the bull, it was already a rare treasure. Crazy. I won't kill people for no reason. Cheng Menjing shook her head in disgust and rejected Xishan Giant Bull's proposal. She snorted and said, "If it wasn't for that guy with a scar on his face being too dirty, I would have only injured him at most. You want me to kill so many people, I won't do it." The law of the jungle was the law of the jungle. Cheng Menjing was very clear about it. But she was a girl after all, and Xiao Chun had always been in front of her to protect her. Usually, he wouldn't let her fight. So unless there was no other choice, Cheng Menjing was not willing to put people to death. Isn't that simple? The bull pointed at the horse bandits that were rushing over and said, "Why don't you just injure them? You don't have to kill them, but you have to make them lose their ability to move. As long as you control the strength of your palm, it's very easy to do. Leave the rest to me and the others." But aren't you going to kill them all the same? That's no different from me killing him. Cheng Menjing was stunned and muttered reluctantly. "My dear Miss Cheng, why don't you think about the purpose of our visit this time?" The Xishan Giant Ox advised Cheng Menjing earnestly, "Even if we can all escape successfully, the horse gang will still find trouble with the Fan family. Don't forget, we still need the Fan family to help us find Xiao Chen and the others." All right. Cheng Menjing thought for a while and felt that what the Xishan Giant Ox said did make some sense. So she gritted her teeth and hardened her heart. She led the Fan family's entourage to meet the enemy. She carefully suppressed her strength and launched an attack on the horse gang who were shouting to kill them. At first, Cheng Menjing was not used to it. Her attacks were either too light or too heavy. She even needed the Xishan Giant Ox's help. However, after knocking down a few horse gang members, she gradually got the hang of it. Her attacks became more and more fluid. She played with the moves that the Xishan Giant Ox had taught her before. After all, the 6 senses of a cultivator were very sensitive, and their comprehension was very high. No matter what it was, they could basically learn it 2 or 3 times. And the Fan family's entourage that followed Cheng Menjing saw that after the fairy fought with the immortal a few times, she began to shuttle through the horse gang alone. Wherever there were more horse gang members, she would go. The crowd could not help but jump in fright. They thought that Cheng Menjing did not want to live anymore. They felt a little timid and hesitated to follow her. But as they watched, they realized that wherever Fairy Cheng went, all she had to do was wave her hand casually, and the aggressive bandits would fall to the ground. Not only would they cry out in pain, but they would also lose the ability to move. They could only be slaughtered by them. After a while, the Fan family's entourage came back to their senses. While they were shocked, they also admired this Fairy Cheng. Not long after, the originally high-spirited horse gang was completely defeated. Other than those who were injured and captured, the rest of the horse gang members were scared witless. No one knew who was the first to shout, but they turned around and fled the way they came. Someone was the first to escape from the scene, and the others immediately followed. In the chaos, no one had the time to save their injured companions. They all ran away like a swarm of bees. Some of them even abandoned their magic tools and wished they had 4 more legs. They ran away from the scene at the fastest speed they could muster. Looking at the fleeing horse gang members, Cheng Menjing was too lazy to continue chasing. She stopped and glanced at the scene. She ordered the Fan family's entourage to take the captives as soon as possible. Then she packed up and prepared to return to the Fan family. Anyway, the road ahead was now blocked by falling rocks. If they wanted to go to Ba Immortal Town, they would need to take a long detour. Besides, the original purpose of this mission was to lure the horse gang out to intimidate them. Since the mission was completed, there was no need to go to Ba Immortal Town. Cheng Menjing and others were still on the way back to Moyao Town, but the escaping horse gang members had returned to the hiding place in the desert. The mounted gangsters were still in a state of shock. Those who were slightly more clear-headed immediately went to find their leader and reported the failure of today's robbery in full detail. They also described Cheng Menjing as if she was a killing star who had descended from the heavens. The leader of the horse bandits was frightened by his subordinates. Looking at everyone's flustered appearance, he couldn't help but feel bewildered. For the sake of caution, he simply sent out a small team of scouts to investigate Moyao Town. The news came back quickly. The horse gang leader learned that the Fan family had invited a master to serve them a few days ago, and it was a woman. Although he did not know her specific cultivation level, she could kill his men at the 5th level of the Gold Core stage. Her strength was obviously not to be underestimated. The woman also brought her grandfather with her. It was said that his strength was not as high as his granddaughter's, but he was also hired by the Fan family as a master. Although he did not know why the woman went out with her grandfather, since the news came like this, the horse gang leader must treat it seriously. After pacing back and forth in the room for a few times, the horse gang leader felt that this situation was a bit special. He really could not make a decision. He simply took out a sound-transmitting talisman and planned to contact the higher-ups, report this matter, and discuss a solution. He took out a basin and filled it with water. The horse gang leader put the sound-transmitting talisman into the water, muttered a few words, and then waited silently. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.